Chapter 26:13. What? Hearing this, many demons in the conference room could not help but stand up. They just wanted to take this opportunity to completely seal the doomed demon. But they did not expect that before they could do anything, the doomed demon had run away and entered the demon god's relic. That place was very tricky even for them. As expected of the doomed demon. Although it should not know that we are plotting against it, it can feel the danger and enter the demon god's relic on its own initiative. On the surface, it looks like a reckless act, but it has found a chance of survival. The black demon's face suddenly became gloomy. It instantly felt that the doomed demon was difficult to deal with. It was worthy of being the famous doomed demon, an existence that even the demon god could not do anything to. Just this kind of behavior of seeking good fortune and avoiding danger was enough to make it look at it in a different light and admire it. At the same time, its fear of the doomed demon had risen to the peak. This misfortune fiend is too dangerous. We were just scheming against it, but we didn't even do anything. There weren't even any signs, but this fellow actually left ahead of time and entered the fiend god ruins. This ability is no joke. The orange demon clenched his fists. After it advanced to the invincible realm, it became more and more awed by the law of destiny. It was an elusive power. It looked like nothingness, but it really existed. The more powerful it was, the more it was awed by hell itself. What should we do now? This guy has entered the demon god's relic. It won't be so easy for us to seal it. A red demon narrowed its eyes. It felt that this matter was starting to be a little troublesome. Do you still need to ask? Of course we should follow it in. If it obtains some treasure in the demon god's relic and its strength increases by leaps and bounds, then who can control it? The orange demon said in a deep voice, most importantly, if it accidentally finds another space passage in the demon god's relic and leaves the demon god's relic, wouldn't it be more dangerous? Many demons could not help but nod. It was true. Although there seemed to be only one stable space passage in the demon god's relic, there were too many secrets in the demon god's relic. They did not dare to say that they knew everything. It was not difficult to understand that there was a second space passage that could leave the demon god's relic. Since that's the case, let's follow him in. Once we see that brat, we'll immediately seal him and not give him any chance to resist. The black demon immediately said, all right. All the invincible realm demons nodded and immediately decided. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, the bodies of these invincible realm demons flickered, and they flew toward the space channel of the demon god's relic, hoping to catch up with the doomed demon Feng as soon as possible. At this moment in the fiend god ruins. At this time, Xiaoping had already entered the demon god ruins. There were no demons around him because his reputation was already worse than a latrine pit. No demon dared to approach him now. Therefore, when he entered the fiend god ruins, the other abyssals all retreated, not daring to enter with Xiaoping. They were afraid that they would be entangled with Xiaoping and attract unpredictable danger. An invincible realm demon wants to kill me? I didn't expect the name of a misfortune demon to make these demons so afraid. Xiaoping touched his chin. In fact, when these invincible realm demons wanted to kill him, the system in his body had already warned him in advance, indicating that a tyrannical enemy was eyeing his life and telling him to be careful. He also knew that the ones eyeing him were actually invincible realm demons, and there were dozens of them. The appearance of so many invincible realm demons was simply overwhelming. Even if one appeared, it would be enough to easily crush him, let alone dozens of them. Therefore, in order to survive, he immediately decided to enter the fiend god ruins. Only with the power of the fiend god ruins could he survive under the hands of these invincible realm demons. After all, there were too many terrifying and dangerous places in the fiend god ruins. Even if an invincible realm demon entered, he wouldn't dare to say that he would definitely survive. Presumably, after entering the fiend god ruins, these demons wouldn't dare to be too presumptuous. Right, let's go to that palace. Xiaoping touched his chin and thought of the temple that he hadn't finished exploring before. That place contained a powerful restrictive formation, and it had been besieged by dozens of primordial demons for an unknown period of time without being breached. Presumably, there must be a huge secret in that place. And with the defensive power of that temple, even if those invincible realm demons wanted to break it in a short time, it would probably be impossible. Whoosh. Thinking of this, he didn't hesitate and immediately displayed the hell golden crow's wings. His whole body easily merged into the void, and he instantly teleported tens of thousands of light years. In the blink of an eye, Xiaoping found the previous bridge of helplessness and immediately rushed over without any delay. And just a few minutes after Xiaoping left this place, whoosh, 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 Invincible realm demons with an abyss-like aura also collectively appeared in the fiend god ruins. The power of each of their bodies condensed into a substance, as if they had twisted countless hell laws. Their bodies erupted with powerful domain power, as if they themselves were an independent universe, and countless tyrannical power of laws automatically operated within the domain. Damn, that doom demon ran really fast. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared. Why is it in such a hurry? Is it rushing to reincarnate? The black demon's divine sense power spread around, but it found that there was no aura left by Xiaoping in this hell city. Its face was very ugly. It had clearly caught up with them at an extremely fast speed, but it didn't expect that it was still too late. Does that guy know that we're going to hunt him down? The orange demon narrowed its eyes, revealing a vigilant look. Impossible, our coming to the base is also a top secret. Except for us, no other demons should know. Moreover, it was our impromptu idea to deal with it. How could that kid know of our existence? A green demon shook its head, feeling that it was impossible for the other party to know of their existence. Even the famous Doom Demon couldn't have such foresight ability. Whether it's lucky or it already knows that we're going to hunt it down, let's catch up with it first. When we capture it, we'll know the truth. A crimson fiend laughed cruelly. That's right, I can feel that the kid is not far from us. Soon we'll catch up with him. The orange demon was full of murderous intent. After saying these words, many demons immediately chased after it. Chapter 26:14. In a certain divine hall in the demon god's ruins. Xiaoping moved extremely quickly. He crossed the bridge of helplessness and arrived at the divine hall he had come from before. Since the evil spirits and devils in this place had basically been cleaned up by him, the city was very safe. There were no monsters occupying this place. Interesting. Xiaoping rubbed his chin. He had descended in his original body, so he activated the Golden Crow's Eye of Hell and instantly saw through all the restrictive formations in the divine hall. He was able to see more than when Gaia's clone had arrived. He discovered that there were a total of 108,000 restrictive formations in the divine hall. They were connected to each other and were extremely complicated. There were billions of restrictive formations arranged together. Furthermore, the arrangement and combination of each restriction formation was quite terrifying, and contained terrifying destructive power. The primordial demons had actually tried to explore slowly in hopes of finding a safe path to the divine hall. That was just a fool's dream. Even if they spent billions of years, it would be very difficult for them to find any flaws in the restrictive formations. However, to Xiaoping, who had the Golden Crow's Eyes of Hell, the restrictive formations in the divine hall were all laid out before him. Nothing was left out. I never thought that the divine hall of an ordinary hell city would have such powerful restrictive formations. This city is probably not that simple. It might contain a great secret. Xiaoping squinted his eyes. He could sense that the divine hall was not simple. It was not something the divine halls of other hell cities could compare to. In reality, the divine halls of the other cities had all been destroyed. Only this divine hall remained unscathed. It was enough to prove how extraordinary this place was. Of course, this was a good thing for Xiaoping. If the divine hall was not powerful enough and mysterious enough, it probably would not have been able to stop the invincible demons in pursuit. It would not have been able to serve as a place for him to hide. If he did not discover anything special about this place, he would probably have to go to other, more dangerous cities to avoid the invincible demons. And it's not just restrictive formations. There seems to be the aura of a demon god. Xiaoping clenched his fists. He could sense a noble, powerful and overwhelming bloodline power from the depths of the divine hall. It was supreme above everything. This power was on the same level as the Golden Crow of Hell's bloodline power in his body. This temple definitely contained the terrifying power of a demon god. Otherwise, the blood in his body wouldn't be throbbing like this. To be honest, he was getting more and more interested in the secrets of this temple. Thinking up to there, Xiaoping did not hesitate. He used the Golden Crow's Eye of Hell and immediately found a flaw in the formation. He stepped in. Boom! In an instant, his figure flickered and merged with the void. He disappeared from the space and was directly transported to the depths of the palace. Not long after Xiaoping entered the shrine and left this place, a voice suddenly rang out. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Suddenly, the demons of the invincible realm chased after him. They did not even give Xiaoping time to breathe. They used their full speed, broke through the void and arrived in an instant. But even so, they were too late. When they arrived, there was no trace of Xiaoping. There was only a trace of his aura left. Damn it, Fengdu ran away. How could this bastard run so fast? Just a little bit more and he would have caught up with this guy. The red demon clenched his fists and was very angry. In order to catch up with the demon Fengdu, he almost used all his strength. He risked attracting many monsters in the relics of the demon god and broke through the void just to stop Fengdu. But even so, they were still one step too late. Interesting. I remember that we have explored this place countless times. There should be no secrets. Why is there a divine hall that has never been seen or recorded? An orange demon stared at the divine hall in front of him and looked very interested. Indeed. How did the misfortune demon find this divine hall? And the restrictive formation is so complete. I am afraid there is a big secret in this place. One of the green demons was also tempted. To be honest, every time an ancient divine hall appeared, it would cause countless bloodshed, because there were a lot of treasures hidden in the ancient divine halls. These treasures were enough to make these invincible demons fight and cause rivers of blood. Not to mention that most of the divine halls and the relics of the demon god were actually in a damaged state, and most of the treasures inside were lost. They were definitely not as complete as the ancient divine hall in front of them. It was almost undamaged. This divine hall is very strange. There must be a big secret. A black demon narrowed his eyes. He instinctively told himself that this ancient divine hall was very unusual. It is said that although the Doom Demon is the unluckiest demon in hell, and can cause endless disasters and misfortune, things go in the opposite direction when they reach an extreme. In the extreme misfortune there is also extreme luck hidden. The orange demon said in a deep voice, I am afraid that this ancient divine hall is the birth of extreme luck in the extreme misfortune of the Doom Demon. That is why he found this hidden divine hall. He said his guess. I don't care how the Doom Demon found this divine hall. I just want to know how to enter this divine hall and get a share of the loot. I don't want to see all the treasures inside stolen by the Doom Demon. Only then will we have a chance to enter. That's right. I have a hunch that the secret of this ancient divine hall is not trivial. We should not miss it. It is better to be careful. Don't go in rashly. The restrictive formation of this divine hall is not simple. It is extremely powerful. If we go in rashly, I am afraid we will be killed inside. Interesting. Even we invincible realm demons are afraid and frightened of this divine hall. This Doom Demon actually dares to enter it without fear. What secret does he know about this divine hall? That's right. This misfortune demon has too many secrets. It's a huge mystery that it was able to survive from a young age until now without being discovered by other demons and grow to its current state. After we catch the Doom Demon, don't be in a hurry to seal it. We should capture it, interrogate it, and squeeze out all its secrets. Of course. But the most important thing now is to break the restrictive formation here as soon as possible. That is easy. I am a famous formation master in hell. It is just a restrictive formation of the divine hall. Give me half a day and I can break it. Many demons were talking about it. Chapter 26:15. At this time, Xia Ping had already entered the divine hall. With the power of the golden crow's eye of hell, he saw through the flaws of the restrictive formations. It was as easy as walking on flat ground. In just a few breaths of time he had passed through who knew how many restrictive arrays. Whoosh. In the next second, when he crossed the last restrictive formation, a teleportation power instantly covered his whole body and transferred his body to another space. Xia Ping narrowed his eyes. He found that he seemed to have come to the deepest part of the divine hall. It was a huge palace like a kingdom of giants. He could barely see the top of the roof. The surrounding palace was incomparably vast. On both sides there were giant stone statues. They seemed to be from various major races of demons. There were countless of them. There were even statues of Asuras, nether ghosts, evil ghosts, demons, void monsters, and so on. There seemed to be panic, fear, and other emotions in the depths of their eyes. They were almost vivid and lifelike. It could be said that this kind of sculpting skill was simply superb, a work of art that excelled the heavens. If it weren't for the fact that these stone statues didn't have any breath of life, he would have thought that these stone statues were alive. However, among the many stone statues, only in the most central position stood a tall, towering statue of a demon god. It emitted an extraordinary aura and pressure. Such an aura was almost tangible. Even if an invincible realm saint stood here, he would be in awe and not dare to act rashly in this place. Moreover, he could also feel the incredible power of the demon god emitting from the surroundings of this palace. It seemed to be more terrifying than the restrictive formations in the outside world. If he touched the taboo of this place he would die without a doubt. Boom! At this time, a solid figure walked out from the depths of the void. It was a bull-headed man with a scepter in his hand and a crown on his head. He emitted a tyrannical power. The moment he appeared, it seemed that the laws of this spacetime had stopped working. Congratulations, lucky one. The bull-headed man looked at Xiaoping calmly. You actually entered the demon hall unscathed. This means that you are qualified to receive the inheritance and power of the demon god. His voice buzzed and seemed to resonate with the laws of heaven and earth. Who are you? Xiaoping narrowed his eyes and looked at the Minotaur warily. He would not easily trust a stranger. Who knew what the other party was planning? I'm Morrigus, the oracle of this temple, and also the artifact spirit of this temple. I'm responsible for choosing the qualified successor of the demon god. The Minotaur called himself Morrigus, the oracle of this temple. What? Xiaoping clenched his fists. Although he already knew that this ancient and mysterious temple was not simple, he didn't expect it to be this amazing. There was actually a demon god's inheritance in this place. In hell, who didn't know how precious a demon god's legacy was? Even the most ordinary fiend devil could ascend to the heavens in a single step and become the ruler of a higher hell. However, the number of demonic god inheritances that appeared each time could be counted on one's fingers. Over countless epochs, only a few had appeared. Even an invincible realm demon would go completely crazy and be willing to pay any price if he knew that there was the inheritance of the demon god. By the way, who are you and what race are you? Report your name immediately. The Minotaur Morrigus asked. Xiaoping immediately wanted to answer that he was using a fake name, but suddenly he felt a sense of alarm in his heart. It was as if a terrifying power of fate in the depths of the void was warning him. He saw an endless aura of death above his head, as if a catastrophe was about to befall him. Warning, warning, the host must pay attention. At this moment, the system's voice sounded. This place is the inheritance of the true demon god. If you lie in front of the true demon god, break your promise or don't answer, no matter how strong you are, you will be petrified and your life aura will be taken away. You will definitely die. What? Hearing this and receiving the system's reminder, Xiaoping's heart trembled. No wonder his instincts were strongly warning him not to lie in this place, or else he would definitely die. However, he didn't expect that this place was actually the palace where the true demon god resided, and that it had the demon god's inheritance. My name is Xiaoping, human. Thinking of this, Xiaoping immediately answered. Under the influence of the true demon god's power, not answering or lying would only lead to death. Since that was the case, he could only answer honestly. Human. Hearing this, the Tauren Morrigus' eyes lit up and he stared at Xiaoping. Interesting. This is the world of hell. How did you, a human, enter hell? And even if you enter the world of hell with your weak human body, you won't be able to resist the erosion of hell's origin power, and you will be assimilated into hell creatures. To be honest, he didn't know how long it had been since he last saw a creature like a human. He always felt that humans were like creatures from ancient times that only appeared in legends. I naturally have my own abilities, Xiaoping said calmly. Although he couldn't lie or not answer under the influence of the true demon god's power, it didn't mean that he couldn't hide anything. By the way, are you really the oracle of this temple? What is your true identity? He asked in return, staring at the Tauren Morrigus. Whoosh. In an instant, the expression of the Tauren Morrigus changed, and his face turned gloomy because he didn't expect this human to dare to ask him a question. However, under the influence of the true demon god's power, he couldn't not answer, nor could he lie. Of course I'm the oracle of this temple, and I'm also the examiner here. However, the expression of the Tauren Morrigus recovered very quickly. He smiled slightly as if his reaction just now had never happened. It seemed that this guy was really the oracle of the temple. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. In fact, the system had reminded him before that no life could lie under the power of the true demon god, even the true demon god. Not to mention the oracle of this temple. The other party should be very clear about this, but he still dared to say such a thing, which meant that his identity was indeed correct and he wasn't lying. But even so, he still maintained absolute vigilance against this Tauren Morrigus. In the hell world, he couldn't trust any demon or devil. This was because these evil spirits could betray at any time, and they could lie at any time. They were sinister and cunning, full of conspiracies, tricks, calculations, and killings. Chapter 26:16. System, do you know what this so-called test is? Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. He couldn't tell how much the Tauren was telling the truth. Even if it wasn't false, hiding important information was enough to make him misjudge. If you want to know the content of the true demon god's test, you need 100 hatred crystals. The system replied. 100 hatred crystals. Hearing this, Xiaoping was amazed. Just knowing the information required tens of billions of hatred crystals, which was even more precious than a divine artifact. However, this was related to the inheritance of the demon god. Even a trace of information was extremely precious. Sometimes, information could determine victory or defeat. Not knowing information meant death. It was understandable that this kind of information was expensive. However, from the side it could also be seen how powerful the system was. It was simply omnipotent. It even knew the content of the true demon god's inheritance, which was really incredible. Exchange. Thinking of this, Xiaoping did not hesitate. He had a large number of hatred crystals on him. Although 100 hatred crystals was not a small amount, it was worth it compared to the information of the demon god's inheritance. The true demon god's inheritance is very simple. There is only one way, and that is to defeat the examiner. The system said, other than lying, no matter what means you use, defeating the examiner will be considered as passing the test and obtaining the inheritance of the true demon god. However, if you fail, you will immediately be petrified and become an eternal stone statue in this place. Hearing this, Xiaoping's eyes lit up. No wonder there were so many lifelike stone statues in this place. They were all demons who failed the test. These stone statues themselves were alive. They were only eroded by the power of the true demon god and turned into stone statues. I just have to defeat the examiner? If that's the case, there are so many trial takers. Could it be that none of them can succeed? Xiaoping felt that this matter was not so simple. If defeating the examiner was considered a success, countless inheritors would arrive over countless eras, and there would definitely be demons who obtained the inheritance of the true demon god. But so far, the inheritance of the true demon god still existed. One could imagine the difficulty of the test. It was definitely not as simple as imagined. It was definitely not so easy to pass. Defeating the examiner is just the first trial. The most important thing is to receive the inheritance of the true demon god's power. The system replied, to perfectly bear the power of the true demon god, there are 3 prerequisites. The first is that you have never lied in your life. The second is that you have never broken a promise. The third is that you must have a strong physique that can withstand the power of the true demon god. This, Xiaoping's eyes widened. Every single one of these 3 prerequisites was a fantasy story. First of all, the first condition had already blocked off countless life forms from inheriting the true demon god. To be honest, let alone those demons who were skilled in lying, even humans and the countless races in the universe did not dare to say that they had never lied. Moreover, under the power of the demon god, even the smallest lie was still a lie. For example, they said they were hungry even though they weren't. They praised the other party for being handsome even though they weren't. In short, there was no one who didn't lie. In order to survive, demons would lie countless times and go against their own hearts to flatter others. It was no wonder that no demon had been able to obtain the inheritance of the true demon god even though it had appeared for so long. The conditions were too harsh. Probably only newborn babies met the first condition. They had never experienced anything, never lied, and always kept their promises. The problem was that it was impossible for such babies to defeat the examiner. It could be said that almost no life form could inherit the inheritance of the true demon god. If one can pass these 3 prerequisites, then the inheritance of the true demon god will be successful. The system continued. However, if one can't pass, then one won't be able to inherit the power of the true demon god. The demon itself will instantly be transformed into an examiner, the artifact spirit of the temple, or rather, a puppet that is bound to this place. Only by defeating 10,000 trial takers can one be reborn and escape the shackles of the temple. However, if one of the 10,000 challenges fails, then one will die and turn into an eternal stone statue in the temple, never to be reincarnated. I see. Xiaoping came to a realization. No wonder he felt malice from this minotaur. It turned out that in order to regain its freedom, this guy had to defeat 10,000 trial takers. For the minotaur, this was a matter of life and death. Either it died or he lived. Both sides were basically irreconcilable. This also ensured the brutality of the test. Neither side would go easy on them. If I defeat 10,000 trial takers, can I really escape the shackles of the temple? Xiaoping asked. Of course. Under the power of the true demon god, no life form can lie. All promises will be kept. There is no doubt about this. The system said. However, even if you can escape the temple, you can't reveal any information to the outside world. This is a contract made with the true demon god. If there is even the slightest possibility of a leak, you will die immediately. Because of this, the contents of the true demon god's inheritance have never been leaked to the outside world. No demon knows what the inheritance of the true demon god is. Because of this, countless demons have come to die one after another. As expected of the true demon god, Xia Ping was amazed. He could only say that it was indeed the power of the demon god. It simply surpassed everything, ignoring the power of laws and reaching a higher level of power. It seemed that under the shroud of the demon god's power, all the laws of the universe would lose their effectiveness. Only the demon god's laws would be effective. They were above the laws of the universe and possessed a unique power. But what is the content of the test? How can we defeat the examiner? Xia Ping asked. The content of the test is all-encompassing. It is all decided by the examiner. The system said, if the examiner is willing, he can use rock paper scissors to decide the outcome. However, the examiner is not so stupid. They will not treat their lives as a joke. They will definitely use the most advantageous method to decide the outcome. For example, demons that are good at fighting will fight with the trial takers. If demons that are good at cooking, they will compete with the trial takers in cooking. If demons that are good at speed, they will compete in speed and so on. In short, they will compete with the trial takers in whatever the examiner is good at. In short, they will come up with the content of the test that is most advantageous to them. Everything is for the purpose of defeating the opponent. It indicated that it did not know what the content of the test was because everything was decided by the examiner. Chapter 26:17. I see. Xia Ping's eyes lit up, and he exuded a murderous aura. He finally understood the danger of the inheritance of the real demon god. It looked simple and not particularly complicated, but it was very simple. Every step was filled with danger, and a little carelessness would lead to death. This was the horror of the inheritance of the demon god. If one was not careful, even an invincible realm demon would fail here and die completely. This guy. At this moment, the examiner, the Minotaur, was also observing Xia Ping. Its face was very gloomy. It had thought that there was finally an examiner in the temple of the real demon god, and it had hope of getting out. If the other party lied, it would instantly turn into a stone statue. This could kill the other party as soon as possible. In fact, there had been quite a number of trial takers who had foolishly lied in this place and turned into stone statues, saving it a lot of effort. But this human was different. He seemed to know that this was the temple of the real demon god and he could not lie. Its first plan had failed just like that. But fortunately, it was an examiner and it could set any assessment content at will, and it had to be an assessment content that was beneficial to it. This way, no matter how powerful this human was, he could not defeat it. And as long as it could defeat 10,000 examinees, it could leave this damn place. Should I fight this human? It is said that humans are extremely weak individuals. Compared to demons of the same level, humans are much weaker and can be killed easily. The Minotaur narrowed its eyes, thinking about the assessment content. No. Ordinary humans may be extremely weak, but some genius-level humans have extraordinary combat power, and can even compare to demons with the bloodline of the demon god. This human could actually enter hell from the human world, and even resist the erosion of the power of hell's source, and never be assimilated by the power of hell. It is conceivable that this human's strength must be extraordinary. If I compete with him, I might just fall into this guy's trap. I can't do this. But if we don't fight, then what kind of test should we use? How can we easily kill this human? Should we compete in speed, strength, defense, or intelligence? It kept thinking about the assessment content it had a chance of winning. Examiner. Just then Xia Ping suddenly spoke. What is it? The Minotaur said impatiently. Can I ask you to die? With a swoosh, Xia Ping's figure flashed and he blasted a finger towards the Minotaur. Unique theurgy, Indra finger. What? The Minotaur was shocked. It did not expect the human in front of it to be so cruel. It had not even started to tell the content of the assessment, and this bastard actually dared to attack it. How could this human be so daring? It tried to dodge but found that it was impossible to dodge. This finger seemed to contain the power of karma. From effect to cause, from cause to effect. This power followed the karma line and attacked it. No matter where it hid, it would not be able to do anything. Moreover, the power of this finger was so fast that it could make one's hair stand on end. Even with its strength, it would not be able to dodge. With a loud bang, the finger instantly bombarded the ox head's body. At the same time, the power of the infernal golden crow's flames that Xia Ping had imbued into the ox head's body suddenly erupted. Damn it, what kind of flame is this? Why is it like this? The ox head screamed out in fear. Initially, it had thought that with its strong defense, it would be able to defend against all attacks in the world. Even if it were to be ambushed suddenly, it would be able to defend against it and not die for the time being. But how could it have expected that this finger would contain the terrifying power of the infernal golden crow's flames? This was especially the case for Xia Ping, who had leveled up to immemorial ancient state. The power of the infernal golden crow's flames within his body was more than 1,000 times more terrifying than before. It possessed the power of creation that could distort anything. Its destructive power had also received a shocking boost. The massive infernal golden crow's flames burst forth from the body of the ox head, burning him from the inside out. It was as though every single cell in the body of the ox head had been lit up, causing his blood, and soul to turn into fuel that burned furiously. No, no, no. The ox head was horrified as it felt the impending threat of death. But it was all too late. The infernal golden crow's flames burst forth and turned its entire body into a torch. Right now it was filled with regret. If it had known that this would happen, it would have killed this human right from the start. Why would it need to think about all these things here? Great. Before the assessment even started, it had already fallen for this despicable human's plot. It was killed in an instant. Just who in the world was the real invigilator here? But no matter how enraged, how frightened, and how indignant the ox head was, it could not utter a single word at all. In fact, the power of the infernal golden crow's flames had even set its soul ablaze. In just a single breath, the body of the ox head was completely incinerated and turned into ashes, disappearing without a trace. Why did the host suddenly strike out and kill the invigilator? Looking at how the invigilator, the ox head, was killed by Xia Ping in an instant with a speed that was as swift as lightning, the system felt as though it had crashed, not knowing what was going on at all. That's simple. Don't I have to defeat the invigilator to pass the test? Xia Ping smiled out. Even though the contents of the test are decided by the invigilator should not have the right to make any decisions before the invigilator announces the contents of the test, right? But the test doesn't only begin when the invigilator announces it. In truth, the moment you step into the sacred hall, the test regarding the true demonic god has already begun. Previously you said that I only have to defeat the invigilator to pass the test. In order to achieve this goal, I can use any method. Clearly, before the invigilator announces the contents of the test, I instantly struck out and killed the invigilator. Doesn't that mean that I've passed the test? This is what it means to take the initiative. The system did not know what to say. Beep beep. At this moment, a mechanical voice rang out from the depths of the void. Congratulations, trial taker human Xia Ping. You have defeated 100222222. Invigilator number 333 and obtained the right to inherit the true demonic god. Indeed, my guess was right. Before the invigilator announces the contents of the test, killing the invigilator is also a way to pass the test. Xia Ping smiled. The system fell silent. In truth, it had only just understood. For the inheritor of the true demonic god, being able to kill an invigilator in an instant meant that the inheritor had overwhelming strength, extraordinary calmness, and shocking comprehension abilities. No matter which aspect it was, he was a qualified inheritor. For the sacred hall, such a person would naturally be a talent. But for the inheritor of the true demonic god's power, this was only the first step. The second step was the most crucial. If the inheritor could not pass the 3 conditions, he would definitely die. Chapter 26:18. Rumble. The moment the examiner died, the entire palace started shaking. One by one, the restrictive formations disintegrated, as if they were going to collapse and disappear in an instant. The terrifying power that was strong enough to freeze time and space seemed to have melted into the depths of the void, disappearing without a trace. It was as if the defensive formation of the divine hall had disappeared at that moment, revealing the main palace. Suddenly, ancient and magnificent palaces appeared in the surroundings, like stars all over the place. Their positions were unique, and every palace was a node of the formation. 108,000 palaces were built, which was a super-restrictive formation that contained the power of the demon god. What's going on? At that moment, in the outside world, dozens of invincible realm demons were shocked, because they were still thinking hard about how to break the restrictive formation of the divine hall. But in the face of the palace of inheritance built by the real demon god, they spent a long time without any clue. But this was to be expected. Even the demon god couldn't break this kind of palace of inheritance, so how could mere invincible realm demons do anything to it? Only a special existence like Xia Ping, who had the power to see through the restrictive formation, could find the flaws of the restrictive formation and easily step into the palace of inheritance. And just when these demons were at their wits' end, the restrictive formation of the divine hall suddenly disappeared, and one powerful restrictive formation after another disappeared in front of them. It was as if a palace full of treasures suddenly opened its tightly guarded door, and countless treasures appeared in front of them. It was as if a pie had fallen from the sky. What happened to the divine hall? Wasn't it very powerful just now? Why did it suddenly disappear? A red demon was dumbfounded. It had no idea what was going on. It was clear that the defense of the restriction array was almost impeccable, but it suddenly collapsed at this moment. This made it feel that this matter was very unreal. It rubbed its eyes, thinking that it was hallucinating, or that it had fallen into some illusory formation. I'm not sure, but we have to be careful. After all, this is an ancient divine hall, mysterious and unpredictable. We can't be too careful, another black demon said in a low voice. The other black evil demon said in a deep voice. It was already completely vigilant, and it held its breath and calmed its mind. But after being on guard for half a day, it didn't notice anything amiss, as though the palace had appeared before the devils without any warning. Is it because of the demonic horse of misfortune that went in earlier? Did this kid obtain great benefits in the divine hall? That's why something like this has happened. A scarlet demon narrowed its eyes. It felt that the sudden change in the temple definitely had something to do with the misfortune demon Mantis. Perhaps it was caused by that kid. After all, the legendary misfortune demon was simply a shit-stirrer. No matter what he did, there were no exceptions. I'm not sure. Let's go in and take a look. The other green demon said in a deep voice as it gave its own suggestion. To be honest, they were all powerful demons who had reached the invincible realm. They stood at the top of hundreds of millions of demons. Their strength was so strong that not many things could hurt them. If even they did not dare to enter the temple to explore, then no demons would enter. Moreover, dozens of invincible realm demons were gathered in this place. Even if something happened, they would take care of each other and not suffer too much damage. As soon as the green demon finished speaking, the many invincible realm demons looked at each other. They were also very decisive demons. Once they made a decision, they would not hesitate. The relic of the demon god was right in front of them. There was no reason for them to miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. In an instant, many invincible realm demons stepped into the divine hall without hesitation. Their bodies were immediately surrounded by an invisible force of space. Whoosh, whoosh. In just an instant, they were transported to the deepest part of the divine hall, which was also a trial ground. What is this place? Is this the inside of the divine hall? The green demon looked around and found that it had come to a large hall. Everywhere was filled with densely packed giant stone statues. They were lifelike, but they were extremely strange, making one's hair stand on end. I'm not sure. It's better to be careful. Don't act rashly here. I can feel the aura of the demon god here, the orange demon said warily. It felt that in a place like this where the demon god was, it would not be too much to be careful. Look, isn't that Feng Du the misfortune demon? It's actually here too, a black demon said in surprise. Because it found the figure of Feng Du the misfortune demon in front of it. It was really like traveling to the ends of the earth to find it, only to find it by chance. It really is Feng Du the misfortune demon. This bastard really entered the divine hall. Should we act immediately and seal it? A red demon was ready to make a move and immediately wanted to seal the misfortune demon. Don't act rashly. This is the place where the demon god is. We still don't know what this place is. We must be careful or we may be doomed eternally. The orange demon was very cautious. Although it was important to seal the misfortune demon, his own safety was equally important. He could not lose his life. Indeed, let's see what happens first. There's no hurry. The demons nodded. They secretly communicated with each other through divine sense. They did not intend to let the misfortune demon in front of them know the content of their conversation. At this time, Xiaoping had originally planned to start the second step of inheriting the real demon god's inheritance. However, before he could move, he found that the divine hall had also undergone a tremendous change. It seemed that the moment before the Minotaur died as revenge, it temporarily removed the restrictive formation of the divine hall, allowing all the invincible demons wandering outside to enter. This immediately made the restrictive power of the divine hall think that there were suddenly dozens of inheritors of the divine hall, and they were all on the same level as Xiaoping. Only by defeating these dozens of invincible demons could he truly obtain the inheritance of the real demon god. Obviously, this was the chief examiner's revenge before he died. Even if he was killed, he wanted to make Xiaoping suffer. However, Xiaoping also had an advantage. Because of the death of the Minotaur as the first inheritor, he naturally inherited the position of chief examiner and had the authority to automatically issue trial missions. As long as he could defeat the dozens of invincible demons present, he could still inherit the power of the real demon god. Thinking of this, Xiaoping's eyes turned and he stood up. God-level demon, God-level demon. Chapter 26:19. Seeing Xiaoping's actions, the orange demon and the other invincible demons immediately became vigilant. They were extremely wary of this famous Doom demon. Unless it was absolutely necessary, they did not want to come into contact with him. At this moment, Xiaoping went straight to the point. Are you here to seal me? What? Hearing this, the orange demon and the other invincible demons were shocked. They did not expect this demon Fengdu to be so straightforward. He asked such a question as soon as they met. It was like throwing a straight ball. It was as if a peerless beauty suddenly stepped forward and asked a perverted man who had been coveting her for a long time but had never spoken to her, "Do you want to fuck me?" It would be strange if the perverted man was not dumbfounded and speechless. One could imagine the impact this sentence had on the orange demon and the other invincible demons. They were almost speechless and did not know what to say. Out of their demon instincts they naturally said, "Of course not." Boom. However, as soon as they said this, they instantly fell into Xiaoping's trap. The entire temple trembled. A terrifying, almost tangible demon god domain erupted. A voice of the demon god resounded in the void. Lying is a sin. What? The orange demon and the other invincible demons had goosebumps. They suddenly felt a power of the great way that permeated time and space from all directions crushing toward them. It permeated all the laws of the universe and could not be resisted at all. Whoosh. In an instant, the dozen or so invincible realm demons who bore the brunt were caught off guard. An invisible power of the demon god permeated every corner of their bodies and every cell. In the depths of their eyes, they saw a petrifying power spreading through their bodies from their feet to their knees, to their waists, then to their necks, heads and so on. In just a breath's time, these invincible realm demons turned into huge, majestic and lifelike stone statues. At this moment, the other invincible realm demons immediately knew where the lifelike stone statues around the temple came from. They had clearly violated the restriction of the demon god temple and were petrified into stone statues by the power here. But this was just the beginning. Because all the invincible demons present had lied, which meant that all the invincible demons had violated the taboo here. Damn it. This is the true demon god's shrine of inheritance. In the blink of an eye, a knowledgeable golden demon's expression changed. It immediately knew where it was. The true demon god's inheritance shrine? Many evil demons had greedy looks in their eyes. Don't think that this is a good place. The inheritance shrine of the true demon god has existed since the demon god era. However, from ancient times until now, not a single demon has been able to obtain the inheritance of the true demon god. All the demons that have entered have died without exception. The golden demon shouted, "And we've violated the taboo of the true demon god in the true divine palace. Lying means that we'll all be killed by the power of the true demon god. This damned misfortune demon Fengdu, this bastard tricked us. I'm going to kill it, I'm definitely going to kill it." It was so mad that its lungs were about to explode. It was clearly an invincible realm evil demon, a powerful existence that had comprehended the law of life and death. It could crush an ant like this with one hand. But at this moment, because of one mistake, just one mistake, it had actually fallen into such a state of certain death. It hated Xiaoping to the extreme. It wanted nothing more than to tear this bastard into pieces. Even if it killed this bastard's entire family, it would not be able to dispel the hatred in its heart. How could this be? Immediately, 7 or 8 invincible realm evil demons tried to escape, but it was too late. A gray domain shrouded them and instantly enveloped them. Even though they struggled with all their might and operated the power of the life and death domain in an attempt to escape, it was of no use. Like the evil demons before them, they were instantly petrified and turned into stone statues. Moreover, such stone statues were vivid and lifelike. Even their helplessness before death, that grief and indignation, that panic, and that fear were all completely revealed on the surface. Run quickly. This is the power of the real demon god, the real domain. It seems that within the scope of this real domain, no evil demon can lie. Otherwise, they will definitely be eroded by the domain of the demon god. This power is irresistible. Even the demon god would be wary of it, the golden evil demon shouted in horror. Then what should we do? Do we have no choice but to wait for death? Many invincible realm evil demons hated Xia Ping to death. They wanted nothing more than to rush up and kill Xia Ping. But Xia Ping saw that the situation was not good, so he had long escaped and hid far away. Even though these evil demons wanted to chase after him, they did not dare to make any moves. Because if there was a delay of a millisecond they would probably be dead. Run, we have to run. As long as we can escape the scope of the domain of the demon god, the power of the real demon god will not be able to touch us and we can live. The golden evil demon shouted, "If you have any treasures, use them immediately. If you are late we will all die. We will all die. Do you hear me? Don't be stingy with treasures." Whoosh, in the blink of an eye, the gray domain of the demon god shrouded them. It came from afar and it was extremely fast. It covered the sky and the earth as if night had fallen. It chased after the remaining evil demons. There is no other way. Follow me. At this moment the orange evil demon shouted angrily. He immediately took out a magic treasure of the demon god level from his body, the Nirvana boat. This was a magic treasure that could only be used once. It was a replica. This was a magic treasure that he had found in the ruins of a demon god. Once used, it would immediately turn into the Nirvana boat that could pierce through the void. By then, no power would be able to catch up with it. It was like a boat that could reach the Nirvana realm without being touched by any magic. Boom, suddenly the Nirvana boat expanded and became a small boat. The surrounding aura turned into chaos, as if it had merged with the chaos. Even the domain of the demon god could not affect it. Hurry up. We will leave immediately. The orange evil demon shouted and immediately boarded the Nirvana boat. Many evil demons also boarded quickly. However, the power of the domain of the real demon god was too fast. There were still more than 10 invincible realm evil demons who could not react in time. They were instantly petrified into stone statues. Go. Seeing this situation, the orange evil demon was scared half to death. He realized that the power of the domain of the demon god seemed to be corroding the Nirvana boat. If he continued to stay, the entire Nirvana boat would be petrified. Swoosh. In an instant he could not care about anything else. He drove the Nirvana boat to escape quickly. In just a breath's time, the small boat had merged with the chaos. Even the power of the demon god could not catch up with it. In an instant, it disappeared without a trace. Third Sect Leader. Chapter 26-20. Whoosh. The Permetha boat was extremely fast. It didn't just escape into the depths of spacetime. It simply turned into a Permetha bridge that connected to a node at the end of spacetime. Even the restrictive formations of the demonic god's ruins and the countless dimensional spaces couldn't stop the Permetha boat from escaping. In just an instant, the boat left the demonic god's ruins and arrived at another place in the Green Lotus Hell. No matter how terrifying the demonic god's power was, the demonic god's domain covered the entire ruins. But it couldn't extend the demonic god's domain beyond the ruins. In the end, the power could only retreat unwillingly as if nothing had happened. Everything returned to normal. Boom. At this moment, when the invincible demons escaped from the demonic god's ruins and arrived at another spacetime node, the replica Permetha boat instantly collapsed and disintegrated into nothingness. They were drenched in sweat and had lingering fears. Almost just a little bit more and they would have been completely left in the demonic god's ruins. They would have been killed by the demonic god's power and turned into ashes in an instant. Although they were known as invincible demons, that was only in the era when the demonic god didn't appear. In fact, in the era of the demonic god they were at most demigods. They were still very far away from the demonic god. If not for the fact that one of them had obtained such a treasure and could instantly escape from the demonic god's ruins, the dozens of invincible demons would have all died. But even so, only a dozen or so of them could survive. The rest of the invincible demons had all been turned into stone statues because they couldn't escape in time. Their life aura had been stolen. Damn Fengdu. The orange demon howled. If not for this bastard scheming against us, we wouldn't be in such a miserable state. We were so close, so close. We would have been killed by the demonic god's power. How dare that bastard Fengdu? How dare he do such a thing? He actually dared to plot against us. I'm going to tear this bastard into pieces. He hated Xia Ping to the extreme. Now he was so regretful that his intestines turned green. If he had known that this would happen, he would have killed Fengdu immediately. He wouldn't have given Fengdu the chance to use such a despicable method. But it was too late to say anything now. Just a single carelessness, and dozens of invincible demons had died. They couldn't even escape. Ever since they became invincible demons, it had been countless eras since they had tasted death. Even when surrounded by countless void monsters, they could still fight their way out. It wasn't easy for the void monsters to kill demigod-level devils like them. But now they had only been in contact with the misfortune demon centipede for a short period of time, and dozens of invincible demons had died. This was an unimaginable loss for countless eras. If news of this were to spread, the entire Blue Lotus Hell would be shaken. After all, the death of dozens of invincible demons was equivalent to the death of dozens of kings. These demon kingdoms would fall into a state of chaos without a leader. It's too late to say anything now. A green devil clenched his fist and was filled with regret. Although I already knew that misfortune demons were boundlessly terrifying, and that even in the demonic god era, they would cause heavy losses, making even the demonic gods fear them and list them as taboo. But we still underestimated the terror of misfortune demons. They are special devils that even the demonic gods treat like this, and yet we still dared to scheme against each other here. We even dared to scheme against each other here. Isn't this courting death? He was also filled with regret. He had never felt so much regret in his life. If he had another chance, he would definitely immediately deal a heavy blow to the misfortune demon and kill him instantly. How could he give the misfortune demon centipede the chance to use such despicable methods? No, it's not too late. A red devil gnashed his teeth. Although we were indeed schemed against by this bastard, causing us to suffer heavy casualties, the general situation is still on our side. This bastard needs to come out of the demonic god's ruins. When the time comes, we just need to guard the entrance of the demonic god's ruins. When this kid comes out, we will immediately attack and kill or seal this bastard. Don't give him any chance to talk nonsense. He was completely afraid of the misfortune demon. Even the void monsters did not give him such a feeling. After all, the threat of the void monsters was clear. They relied on numbers and their indestructible bodies. But this misfortune demon was different. This bastard was an existence that brought misfortune and disaster. No one knew where misfortune and disaster would come from, when it would descend, or what harm it would cause them. Everything was unknown. The so-called fear actually came from the unknown. They did not know anything. They did not even know when they would die. How could they not be afraid? This was also the fear and wariness of countless devils towards the misfortune demon. This time we can't be distracted. The threat of the misfortune demon is beyond our imagination. That's right. It's just a small test. It hasn't even made a move, but it has already killed dozens of our companions. If we really wait for it to go berserk, which devil in our Green Lotus Hell will be able to survive? Even if we have to pay a heavy price, we must kill this misfortune demon. We can't let it continue doing whatever it wants. Otherwise, all of us devils will be buried in its hands. Let's not scheme against each other. Even if we scheme against each other, can we beat the heavens? Our opponent is not devils, but misfortune. It's the operation of the heavenly Tao of this world. Any carelessness will lead to death. Many devils gritted their teeth and clenched their fists. After experiencing this painful lesson and the death of so many invincible devils, they finally made up their minds to face the threat and danger of the misfortune demon. They made up their minds to guard the entrance of the demonic god's ruins and wait for the misfortune demon to come out. As long as it came out, they would kill this kid. There was no need to talk nonsense. Boom. But at this moment, the entire Green Lotus Hell trembled as if there was a super earthquake. It shook up and down dozens of times, and extremely violent shock waves instantly spread throughout the entire Green Lotus Hell. All the source energy of hell and the power of laws were in a state of disorder. What's going on? The orange devil shouted. He felt a great danger coming towards him from the depths of his heart. It was even more terrifying than when he was chased by the power of the true demonic god. It's over. The void monsters are here. They're starting to launch an all-out attack on the Green Lotus Hell. A red devil's expression changed drastically. He seemed to have sensed something and could not help but shout. Chapter 26-21. What? Upon hearing that, the invincible demon's expressions turned extremely ugly, as if a toad had been forcefully stuffed into their mouths. Not to mention their current mood. Even being struck by lightning was not enough to describe their current mood. What was the saying, when it rains it pours? What was the meaning of adding insult to injury? This was the current situation. Just now they were still being chased by the true demon god's power. Dozens of invincible demons had died. Before they could catch their breath, the void monster's attack had already arrived. Why was there such bad luck in this world? Impossible. Didn't they say that the void monsters would need at least half a year to gather? They might not be able to gather even after a few years. How could they be so fast? The golden demon shrieked. It was almost going crazy because this was far beyond its expectations. It was completely different from its previous plan. We can only say that we've been deceived by the void monsters. In fact, they've already gathered a large number of troops. They've only created such an illusion to deceive us. The orange demon could not help but clench its fists tightly. Its heart was extremely heavy. Damn it. Is this the power of the misfortune demon? We were just about to kill this kid, but misfortune came one after another. I'm afraid we'll be killed by the power of misfortune before we can kill the misfortune demon. The red demon's face turned pale. It had never been afraid after living for so long, but it felt goosebumps when it faced the power of the misfortune demon. No one could imagine the fear in its heart at that moment. Although the misfortune demon's strength was ordinary, its method of manipulating the power of misfortune was too strange and terrifying. The danger of being killed was simply everywhere. It was not a direct confrontation at all. Instead, it was a confrontation on the level of fate. There would be a huge amount of misfortune descending at all times until it killed the demon. For example, they had just decided to kill the misfortune demon as soon as possible. However, the void monsters in the depths of the void had already arrived. The time of the final attack was far earlier than they had imagined. Could this be considered a coincidence? No, if it was just one incident, it would be a coincidence. However, such incidents happened one after another. Could not be a coincidence. Was a necessity. This further proved how terrifying a misfortune demon was. Bastard, I already said that we can't provoke that misfortune devil, we can't provoke it. Even the demon god who wanted to kill that misfortune devil was defeated, and countless of them died. We are just demigods, how could we dare to say that we can kill that misfortune devil? A white demon said in horror, you guys are great. You even said something about strangling the danger in the cradle. Damn, we haven't even gotten close to that misfortune demon, and more than half of us have been killed. Now things are even worse. The void monsters are invading us en masse and so many of our helpers have died. What should we do now? I'm afraid we'll be killed by all sorts of misfortune before we can even do anything. What's the point of resisting? Just wait for your death. It had a complete mental breakdown. To be honest, it did not approve of coming into contact with the misfortune demon. After all, it was a taboo existence. Even a powerful creature like the demon god needed to be careful and use all kinds of tricks to deal with the misfortune demon. They were just demigods. In the demon god era they were just small shrimps. Yet they dared to boast about dealing with the misfortune demon. The ignorant were truly fearless. But because they were all in the same group, even if it had objections it could not argue with them. In the end, it could only go with the flow and agree to act together with the other demons. If it had known this earlier, it would have run as far away as it could. Bullshit. Why are we still hesitating here? It's too late for regrets now. The most important thing now is how to deal with those attacking void monsters. The red demon gritted its teeth. It did not dare to go back and provoke that misfortune demon for the time being. It would not even return to the demon god's ruins for the time being. Because the true demon god's domain covered the entire demon god's ruins. If they returned, they would probably be immediately killed by the omnipresent power of the demon god. But if they could not return to the demon god's ruins, they could only forcefully face those void monsters. You're right. It's too late for regrets now. Immediately gather the other invincible demons and the many primordial demons. Let them gather and fight against those void monsters. We definitely cannot die in this place. The golden demon clenched its fists. Hearing this, the other demons nodded. After all, they were demigod-level demons. Although they had a slight mental breakdown just now, they were still able to quickly reorganize their emotions. Given the current situation, they had no way out. They could only survive in front of those void monsters before they could discuss other things. Otherwise, there was no need to talk about anything else. Rumble, at this moment outside the Green Lotus Hell, countless void monsters were surging over. They were so densely packed that no one knew how many there were. They were like locusts. Their bodies emitted a huge and terrifying evil aura. Like dark clouds, it instantly covered the entire Green Lotus Hell. It was as if a huge monster was about to devour this high-level hell. Clang! Clang! In an instant, the entire Green Lotus Hell rang with the sound of a bell. This was an emergency bell that covered the entire Green Lotus Hell. It meant that there were void monsters invading. Moreover, it was an all-out attack. Every time the bell rang, it resounded through the void. It was like the voice of the soul reverberating back and forth. No matter where the demons were, they could hear it clearly. Damn it. The bell of annihilation is ringing. Many of the demons' faces changed. They had heard this kind of bell before. Every time it rang, countless demons would die. It was like a river of blood. However, the bell this time was different. It seemed to have reached the highest level. In other words, they would be facing an unimaginable danger for countless eras. In other words, the void monsters have launched an all-out attack on our Green Lotus hell. But why is it so fast? Didn't they say that there would be at least half a year or even a year? One of the primordial demons had an ugly expression. Clearly, there's a mistake in the information. Things are changing so fast that it's not something we can grasp. Moreover, the void monsters are already here. There's no point in thinking about it. Do you think that if we beg for mercy, these void monsters won't kill us? One of the primordial demons said in a deep voice. Demons and void monsters are irreconcilable races. We can only fight to the death with these void monsters. Clearly, there's no way back in this situation. Even if we retreat, where can we go? Let's fight to the death with these void monsters. I don't believe that these void monsters can kill us all. The demons were filled with killing intent. At this time, Xiaoping was staying in the temple, unaware of the situation outside. Third Sect Leader. Chapter 26-22. At this moment, a mechanical voice came from the depths of the temple. Many candidates' life auras have disappeared. Human Xiaoping has obtained the right to inherit the true demon god. Beep! Suddenly, a huge golden door of light opened in front of the temple. It seemed to be connected to another dimensional space. Xiaoping could sense a strong demon god aura coming from the depths of the door of light. It distorted the void. Clearly, the true place of inheritance of the true demon god lay behind the door of light. If one could not pass the test, no one would be able to open the door to the true demon god's inheritance. Master. At this moment, the voice of the green bull sounded. The inheritance of the true demon god is indeed extremely precious. If it was in the universe, many invincible sages would go crazy for it. However, this inheritance is too dangerous. I'm afraid even Master will not be able to pass the final test of the true demon god. Just now, it had sensed information about the inheritance from Xiaoping's soul. It was instantly worried. If he could not pass the inheritance, he would be seeking his own death. The stone statues of the demons in the hall were a good example of what had happened to them. From the era of the demon god to today, countless eras had passed. Countless powerful demons had come here, but none had succeeded. One could well imagine how difficult it was. There was simply no one who could inherit it. Moreover, according to the conditions for the true demon god to receive the inheritance, although the green bull was embarrassed to say it, its master was a universe-level liar. Lying was as natural as breathing. No matter how it looked at it, he was not a candidate to inherit the power of the true demon god. He was completely the opposite of the power of the true demon god. Therefore, it felt that its master would be sending himself to death if he accepted the final inheritance. That's okay. Actually, I've already thought of a solution. Xiaoping smiled. Solution? What is it? Hearing this, the green bull was stunned. It could not find a solution to the current situation. No matter how it looked at it, it was a dead end. There are 3 requirements to be able to inherit the true demon god's power. The first requirement is to never lie, the second requirement is to never break a promise, and the third requirement is to have a sufficiently powerful physique. For any living being, these 3 requirements are almost impossible to achieve. Xiaoping said. But for me it's not the case. I've cultivated the Great Origin Doppelganger technique. I can condense 9 doppelgangers that are the same as my main body. Doppelgangers? Hearing that, the black ox's body trembled and shock appeared in its eyes. It was as if a bolt of lightning had torn through the darkness, causing its thoughts to become active. That's right, Master still has a clone. The green ox happily said, Master's avatar is completely different from other avatars. Although it's a split from Master's soul, it's different from the main body. It's like a new person. Even the demonic god's inheritance couldn't detect such a difference. This way, Master's avatar can pass the first and second conditions. It immediately understood what its master meant, which was to let its clone accept the inheritance of the true demon god, but not its main body. Because it was a newly born avatar, it had not experienced many things and had not come into contact with other life forms. Naturally, it did not need to lie and had never broken its promise. More importantly, the doppelganger that Xiaoping had condensed was strong enough. It was even stronger than ordinary ancient sages. Naturally, it could withstand the huge impact of the demonic god's inheritance. In fact, even if Xiaoping's main body could accept the demonic god's inheritance, he would not accept it. This was because the demonic god's inheritance carried the strong mark of the demonic god himself. It represented an ultimate path. If one accepted it, they could only advance on the path that the demonic god had taken and would not be able to go on any other path. For ordinary sages, this was obviously a good thing. It saved them a lot of effort and they could also see the end of the path. However, this was not the case for Xiaoping. He did not want to be trapped on this path in the future. He still wanted to find his own path, so he definitely would not be bound by the demonic god's inheritance. However, it was different for his clone to inherit the power of the demonic god. First of all, this would not affect the main body's future. At the same time, he could also accept the complete power of the demonic god's inheritance, obtain great benefits, and take the opportunity to comprehend the true meaning and mystery of the demonic god's power. Most importantly, even if there were any problems with the demonic god's inheritance, he could let his clone self-destruct. After all, he could condense another clone at any time. No matter what, this was a very suitable method. But Master now has 3 clones. They are the Infernal Golden Crow clone, the World Tree clone, and the Gaia clone. I wonder which clone Master wants to let go in to accept the inheritance? The Green Ox asked curiously. None of them. In order to ensure that nothing goes wrong, I plan to condense a 4th clone and let the 4th clone go in to accept the true demonic god's inheritance. Xiaoping said. I wonder which clone Master plans to condense? The Green Ox was very curious. There were many bloodlines around Xiaoping now, such as the Black Hole Worm bloodline, Taotai bloodline, Corpse Beast bloodline, Giant Dragon bloodline, Phoenix bloodline, Qilin bloodline, and so on. There were also various bloodlines of primordial species. It could be said that there were too many bloodlines around Xiaoping. Any one of them could be used as an avatar. Kunping avatar. Xiaoping said these 4 words indifferently. Kunping avatar? Could it be the corpse of the mythical creature I encountered in the cosmic light realm last time, Kunpeng? I remember that Master seemed to have taken the opportunity to obtain some blood of the divine corpse Kunpeng. The Green Ox's eyes widened. He suddenly remembered this matter. Previously in the cosmic light realm, Xiaoping released the divine corpse Kunpeng. This divine corpse unleashed its divine might, causing many divine beasts and abyssal demons to flee in a sorry state. Of course, under the battle between the 2 sides, even this divine corpse was damaged. At that time, Xiaoping sent Gaia's avatar to collect the blood that flowed out of the mythical Kunpeng's corpse. It was also because of this that Gaia's avatar was severely injured. However, it was all worth it. This also allowed Xiaoping to obtain the blood of the mythical creature Kunpeng. This was divine blood. Its value was simply indescribable. Now that he heard his master say these words, it seemed that he wanted to use the blood of the mythical Kunpeng as a blueprint to condense a Kunpeng avatar. That's right. Xiaoping nodded. But we will soon enter and inherit the true demonic god's power. Will there still be time to condense a 4th avatar? The Green Ox said in a deep voice. That's simple. As long as we use the eternal clock and slow down time in a certain area of the classic of mountains and seas, a second in the outside world will be equivalent to a year inside. With a year's time, we can completely condense a Kunpeng avatar. Xiaoping smiled slightly. Chapter 26-23. So that's how it is. It seems that Master has already thought about it. He's really meticulous. Hearing these words, the Green Ox came to a sudden realization. It also remembered how powerful the eternal clock was. It could stop, slow down, and accelerate time easily. Even though using this ability required a large amount of energy, it was nothing. For the wealthy classic of mountains and seas, it was just a drop in the bucket. If it wanted to, the eternal clock could slow down time to a certain extent. A second in the outside world would be 100 years inside. This was not a problem at all. Therefore, Xiaoping had plenty of time to condense the 4th clone. The Green Ox was also very impressed. To its master, what it was worried about previously was not a big deal at all. It was easily resolved in an instant. Master, when will you start condensing the 4th clone? What do you need my help with? The Green Ox immediately asked. In case anything happens, I'll start condensing the 4th clone now. As for what help I need, don't let anyone disturb me. This matter is very important. Xiaoping said in a low voice. Don't worry, Master. In the world of the classic of mountains and seas, no one can disturb Master. The Green Ox was full of confidence. Whoosh. At the thought of this, Xiaoping did not waste any time. He immediately returned to the world of the classic of mountains and seas and went to the palace where he usually cultivated in seclusion. He activated the power of the eternal clock. Tick, tick. After receiving a huge amount of energy, the hour hand of the eternal clock began to move. It rotated bit by bit, and an invisible space-time power instantly spread out. In an instant, the space-time within a radius of hundreds of millions of miles was frozen, and the flow of time was changed by the power of the eternal clock. This was simply an earth-shattering power. Even an invincible saint could not help but be amazed when he saw this scene. The power of a divine artifact was actually not much different from the power of a god. They were both above ordinary laws. It was also because of this that divine artifacts were the true treasures of the top races. At critical moments they could instantly turn the tables. It was equivalent to the nuclear bombs on Earth in his previous life. No, it should be many times more powerful than a nuclear bomb. Whoosh! Xiaoping sat cross-legged and immediately sat on the ground. He took out a transparent bottle that contained the blood of a mythical creature, Kunpeng. This blood was divine blood, and it seemed to radiate divine power. Even though billions of eras had passed, even though the Kunpeng had died, it was still incredibly active and corrosive. If an ordinary creature were to be invaded by a drop of divine blood, the bloodline in their body would instantly change. They would become akin of the mythical creature Kunpeng and obtain a portion of Kunpeng's power. However, as the Great Origin Doppelganger was activated, this mysterious power became even more profound. It dissected the secrets of the Kunpeng's bloodline and completely fused the bloodline's power into the doppelganger. In the blink of an eye, more than a year had passed in the area of the classic of mountains and seas. Xiaoping continuously used the Great Origin clone technique to analyze the profoundness of the Kunpeng's blood. At this moment he finally succeeded and condensed his fourth clone, the Kunpeng clone. Dong. Suddenly, a creature that looked like a whale appeared in the void. It had an extremely huge body and emitted azure light. It emitted a mythical aura. This was the legendary Kunpeng. It seemed like a creature that had walked out of the mythical era. Anyone who saw such a creature would bow down and worship it. It was like a dream. I'm the Kunpeng? Xiaoping's mind was immersed in the Kunpeng clone. He realized that he had transformed into the mythical Kunpeng. A powerful and almost uncontrollable power was born in the depths of his body. Dong. His body moved slightly, and the void in all directions trembled and shattered like glass. Kacha-kacha sounds rang out, and the power waves on his body seemed to condense into a physical form. That kind of power could easily destroy a planet and turn billions of miles of the void into powder. Just the power of his body alone was definitely not inferior to the creature that was favored by the universe's origin in this era, Gaia. If the creature that was favored by the universe's origin in this era was Gaia, then the creature that was favored by the universe's origin in the previous era might be the Kunpeng. It's too fast, too powerful. With a swoosh, Xiaoping's mind moved, and his Kunpeng body instantly merged into the void. Dense Kunpeng runes appeared on the surface of his body. They were space-time runes. The azure light emitted from his body seemed to merge with the space-time in all directions. No power of the void could restrain the Kunpeng's body. To be honest, the strongest assassination race, the Shadow Killer race, the races with the strongest spatial talent, the black hole worm, the space dragon, and other such creatures were nothing compared to the Kunpeng's spatial talent. This was the true son of space-time. No, it should not be the son of space-time. It should be the ruler of space-time. This is wonderful. Xiaoping was amazed. This was the first time he felt that he had such a deep understanding of space-time laws. Under the influence of the Kunpeng's bloodline power, the surrounding space seemed to have turned into all kinds of special waves. The power of the void in all directions seemed to be cheering. He had grasped the power of space-time like a fish knew how to swim. This was an innate divine ability. He did not need to learn it, he had naturally learned it. Even the world's barrier, which was said to be able to stop everything in the world, could not stop the Kunpeng from swimming. It was as if it could merge into the world's barrier with just a slight movement. To the Kunpeng, the entire universe's space and time were all kinds of special waves. No power of space-time could restrain the Kunpeng's movements. Invulnerable. Xiaoping's eyes lit up. As he comprehended the Kunpeng's power, he also realized why the mythical Kunpeng was the most free existence in the universe. This was not only because no power of space-time could restrain its body, but even if it was attacked by any power, it would be repelled by the Kunpeng runes and be repelled. Its skin was the strongest defensive magic treasure, and it could be said to be invulnerable. Be it physical attacks or energy attacks, they could not break through the Kunpeng's defense. Unable to restrain. Rebound power. Absolute defense. This was the most free mythical creature in the universe, Kunpeng. Previously he also learned Kunpeng Steps, Dark North Body Protection Technique, and other peerless techniques, which brought great benefits to Xia Ping, but these techniques were only imitating Kunpeng and created from it. How could they compare with the real mythical Kunpeng? At this moment, Xia Ping could be considered to have truly comprehended the mystery of these magical powers. He had mastered all the magical powers and even raised the power of these martial arts magical powers to a new level. Chapter 26-24. Apart from those abilities, Xia Ping also quickly discovered that there seemed to be a huge black hole deep in the Kunpeng clone's stomach. It was like the stomach of a Tao Tai that could store countless things. Any matter that entered the stomach would be completely devoured and refined. It was just like a bottomless pit. It was as if the stomach could refine the energy of all things in the world. There was a chaotic aura deep inside that seemed like anything that entered would be minced into dust. Perhaps this was also one of the reasons why the Kunpeng was so strong. It could strengthen itself through devouring and refining all things. This way it could store a huge amount of energy in its body at all times, allowing it to fight without slacking off. The Kunpeng's strength is just too strong. It has endless potential and is probably no weaker than the ancestral dragon, phoenix, and other mythical creatures. Xia Ping felt that his understanding of the Kunpeng's strength had increased by another level. However, this clone has just been born and is still in a newborn state. It seems like I need to raise my cultivation further to be able to withstand the legacy power of the true demon god. He pondered over his next step. In the blink of an eye, Xia Ping had spent another year in seclusion in the classic of mountains and seas world. During this period of time, his Kunpeng clone had devoured a fruit of creation and integrated the energy of the fruit of creation. In an instant, his cultivation had risen to the immemorial ancient realm and his strength had increased greatly. At this moment, the clone's strength could no longer be raised and it had reached a bottleneck. It's time to head out. Xia Ping opened his eyes and decided to leave his seclusion state. To be honest, with the power of the eternal clock, even if he stayed in this place for thousands of years, only 1 second would pass in the outside world. It didn't matter if he cultivated for a long time. However, he felt that with his current strength, it was enough for him to face all sorts of accidents. There was no need for him to continue cultivating. Dong. Thinking of this, he took a step out of the space-time domain that the eternal clock covered. At the same time, he ended the eternal clock's power and the hands on it started to tick. Master, have you succeeded? The green bull noticed Xia Ping, who had walked out of the eternal clock space-time domain. It didn't enter. After all, if another living being entered this space-time domain, it would increase the energy consumption. It felt that there was no need to enter the eternal clock's domain and waste a huge amount of energy. However, to it only 1 second had passed. It just happened in the blink of an eye. Yes, I've succeeded. Xia Ping nodded. Immediately after, he released his Kunpeng clone. However, the Kunpeng clone didn't reveal its true form. Instead, it transformed into a humanoid form that looked exactly the same as its true form. As expected of a doppelganger condensed from the bloodline of the mythical rock. It's simply too powerful. The green ox sensed the Kunpeng's clone. With the power of the artifact spirit of the classic of mountains and seas, he could instantly sense the terror of the Kunpeng's bloodline. It seemed to faintly emit waves of divine power that far surpassed all saints. Even with the power of a peerless saint artifact, it was unable to determine the strength of the Kunpeng's clone. It seemed to be above its own, which immediately left it amazed. I don't know if things will go smoothly, but I'll give it a try. Xia Ping rubbed his chin. With a thought, he immediately had his Kunpeng clone leave the world of the classic of mountains and seas and appear in the true demon god's divine hall. Meanwhile, his main body stayed in the world of the classic of mountains and seas to watch over it just in case. Whoosh! In an instant, the Kunpeng clone appeared in the divine hall. Because only 1 second had passed in the outside world, the restrictive formations and fixed programs in the divine hall did not detect anything wrong. In the next second, he did not hesitate and directly stepped into the light door. Boom! Suddenly the space changed and the stars moved. The Kunpeng clone instantly appeared in another dimensional space. This was a palace that was even more magnificent than the one before. However, although the palace was grand and vast, it was empty as if it was in a state of chaos. Everywhere was in a state of nothingness as if there was nothing in this place. In In an instant, the Kunpeng clone narrowed his eyes. He sensed that a tall altar had appeared in the middle of this palace, and there was a fist-sized blood-colored crystal on the altar. This blood-colored crystal emitted an unparalleled demonic aura, as if it was the demonic god itself. The power of hundreds of millions of nomological laws appeared in the depths of the crystal, as if this blood-colored crystal was the amalgamation of the nomological laws. The complexity of it was far beyond Xiaoping's imagination. He could feel that this blood-colored crystal contained an unparalleled power of the demonic god, as though all the blood and essence of the demonic god had been infused into it. What is this thing? Xiaoping could not help but ask the system. Host, this is the final legacy of the true demonic god. That blood-colored crystal on it is the godhead of the true demonic god. The system replied. Godhead. Xiaoping's eyes shone brightly as he could not help but clench his fists. He could feel that these two words seemed to contain an unknown power that represented the true secrets of a demonic god-level powerful being. It was a terrifying power that was completely unreasonable and could twist the laws of reality. What is a godhead? Xiaoping was extremely curious. He wanted to know more about the power of the demonic god, and he instinctively felt that this would definitely be of great benefit to him in the future. Host's strength is insufficient and he does not have the authority to know for now. The system replied. This? Xiaoping did not know what to say. He had thought that after he had leveled up to immemorial ancient state and become an ancient saint, there shouldn't be many things that could stop him. His authority in the system should be the highest as well. But by the looks of it he was still far from it. Boom. At this moment, before Xiaoping could ask anything else, a mechanical voice boomed out from the depths of the void. Inheritor of the human race, Xiaoping, please head up to the demonic god sacrificial altar and accept the legacy of the true demonic god. Place your hand within the blood-colored crystal. When he heard these words, Xiaoping did not hesitate as his body flashed and he appeared on the high platform instantly. He came into the middle of the blood-colored crystal. At such a close distance, he could feel the mighty power of the true demonic god. It was as though just by standing there, a single strain of aura was enough to crush him completely and shatter the void. Even if it were any power of the laws, it wouldn't be able to defend against it. In the face of the power of the demonic god, even the so-called invincible sages were nothing more than ants, unable to withstand a single blow. It was no wonder why those invincible demons from earlier on had died so tragically. They couldn't even hold out for a single second before they were corroded by the power of the true demonic god and turned into stone statues. Dong. In the unknowns, Xiaoping felt the pull of the blood-colored crystal. As though he was unable to control it, he stretched out his right hand and grabbed the blood-colored crystal in his palm. Chapter 26-25. Boom! The moment Xiaoping held the blood-colored crystal with his right hand, he immediately sensed that a demonic figure had emerged from the depths of the blood-colored crystal. The demonic figure seemed to be standing on the long river of history. It emitted an immortal aura as if it was a unique existence in the world. An unparalleled demonic power erupted from its body. Wisps of demonic power seeped into every corner of Xiaoping's body and even into the depths of his soul. This? Xiaoping's eyes lit up. At this moment, an illusory and sacred voice came from the demonic figure. Inheritor, have you ever lied in your life no matter how small a lie it is? The voice buzzed and resounded in Xiaoping's soul. It reverberated back and forth as if it had the power to obey laws. The laws of the universe around him were forcefully distorted. The entire palace was covered by the demonic realm. It was as if only the laws of the demonic god could take effect within the area covered by the demonic realm. All other laws were completely ineffective. No. Xiaoping calmed himself down and immediately replied. Inheritor, have you ever broken a promise in your life no matter how small a promise it is? The voice sounded again. No. Xiaoping answered without hesitation. Walala, suddenly the blood-colored crystal emitted endless light and completely enveloped Xiaoping's body. It even seeped into every part of his soul and every wisp of his soul's memories. Even the endless river of history in the past was presented. However, as the Kunpeng's clone had just been born and did not have much history, it did not even have much contact with humans. Therefore the examination ended in an instant. In the next second the illusory voice sounded again, examination complete. The inheritor's words are true. You have passed the examination and fulfilled the inheritance procedure of the real demonic god. In an instant the blood-colored crystal seemed to come alive. It melted into a red liquid and instantly seeped into Xiaoping's body through his right hand. Then, the blood-colored liquid kept squirming and finally seeped into the depths of his sea of consciousness. It condensed again and turned into a blood-colored crystal as if it had integrated into his soul. A blood-colored crystal immediately appeared in the middle of his forehead. It emitted an incredible light, and an extremely powerful and enormous energy flowed out from the depths of the blood-colored crystal. Rumble! Immediately, Xiaoping felt his Kunpeng clone receive a huge amount of energy. Like an ocean, the energy poured into every corner of the Kunpeng clone. If he was an ordinary sage, he would have exploded from the energy. However, the Kunpeng avatar was different. It was a mythical creature to begin with. Its physique was comparable to that of a fiend celestial, or even far exceeded that of an ordinary fiend celestial. As soon as the energy of the blood-red crystal entered the Kunpeng clone's body, it was immediately devoured by its endless, black hole-like stomach, making it his own. Originally, the demon god's energy was trying to continuously increase the power of his Kunpeng clone. However, due to the restriction of the main body's power, this power was firmly suppressed at this level. Moreover, this enormous amount of energy was easily devoured and absorbed by the Kunpeng clone. Every single cell in the Kunpeng clone's body could contain countless times more energy than other creatures. Especially his stomach, it was like a black hole swallowing everything that came his way. In the end, the demon god's energy was unwilling to give up and could only return to the blood-red crystal. However, the most important thing about the blood-red crystal was not the demon god's energy. Instead, it was the blood-red crystal itself. It seemed to be an amalgamation of countless nomological powers, a supreme crystallization after being sublimated. Through the blood-red crystal, Xiaoping felt that his understanding of the laws of the universe had reached a higher level. It was like an open-book exam, where he knew the answers to all kinds of questions. Vaguely, through the blood-red crystal, he seemed to know the path of the real demon god. This was a true path that broke through all illusions and comprehended the only true self. Above the heavens and earth, only he was supreme. Interesting. This feeling seems very familiar. It's like when I first obtained the power of the golden crow of hell's bloodline. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. He realized that he seemed to have felt this same inherited power a long time ago. When he was still extremely weak, he had obtained the bloodline of the golden crow of hell through the power of the system. However, because of the system's suppression, the power of the golden crow of hell's bloodline did not immediately cause his body to explode. It allowed his cultivation and body to slowly grow, slowly adapting to the increasingly powerful power of the golden crow of hell. Now, the power of the real demon god was the same. After being suppressed by his Kunpeng clone, the power of the real demon god's godhead also retracted and returned to the godhead. It was slowly transforming the body of the Kunpeng clone, allowing the Kunpeng clone to slowly adapt to the power of the real demon god. Moreover, with the guidance of the power of the godhead, the Kunpeng clone's cultivation would definitely be smooth. When it reached the peak of the real demon god's power, there would be no bottlenecks to speak of. Could it be that I also devoured the godhead of the golden crow of hell back then? Xiaoping could not help but have this thought. At this moment, the system seemed to have sensed Xiaoping's thoughts and said, "Host, what you devoured back then was not the godhead. Instead, it was the true power of the bloodline that you obtained after the system's tempering, removal of impurities, and complete purification. It was not the path of the golden crow of hell. It will not affect the host's future in any way." It meant that the godhead was completely different from the power of the bloodline provided by the system. It was a purer kind of power. As for why it was different, it did not explain. Xiaoping nodded and did not continue to ask. In fact, it seemed that every demon god's godhead had to be tested. It needed to be acknowledged by the previous demon god before it could be inherited. It was equivalent to the inheritor of the previous demon god. However, he had obtained the golden crow of hell's bloodline without any tests and directly inherited it. This was completely different from the inheritance of ordinary demon gods. It could be said that his method seemed to be more advantageous. It was as if he had gained all the benefits, but he was not responsible and did not bear any obligations. Another few days passed. Xiaoping had been immersed in the process of refining the real demon god's power. After a few days of refining, the Kunpeng clone could be considered to have grasped a part of the real demon god's power. Yes, this temple seems to have been refined by me. However, what surprised him was that after he refined this blood-colored crystal, he discovered that he had also gained control of this real temple. He had become the master of this temple. It seemed that this temple itself was an extremely powerful magic treasure. After all, this was the residence of the real demon god. If it was not powerful enough, how could it withstand the real demon god's power? How could it not have decayed after hundreds of millions of years? How could it still look like it was newly built? Moreover, this temple itself used the power of the godhead as its energy source. This godhead of the real demon god devoured the power of hell's origin, allowing the temple's defensive formation to always be at its peak. Even after going through countless disasters, it was still strong and could not be destroyed by any external force. Third sect leader. Chapter 26:26. I can't move it? However, Xiaoping soon realized that he couldn't move the Temple of Truth. It was as if the temple had long become one with this space and was completely fixed in place. Even though he was the owner of this temple and could control the restrictive formations here and control the entrances and exits at will, he couldn't move the temple out. Moreover, if his Kunpeng clone died accidentally, the divine spark of the true demon god would return to the Temple of Truth and wait for the next true demon god. It could be said that his Kunpeng clone was only the successor of the true demon god and not the controller. Perhaps after he completely controlled the power of the divine spark, he would be able to do whatever he wanted with this temple. However, at the moment he didn't have this ability. What is this? However, Xiaoping discovered that there was a black chaotic sphere deep in the core of this temple. This chaotic sphere was extremely strange and seemed to store a huge amount of the true demon god's power. Billions of strands of demon god's power rolled like chaos. It was extremely mysterious and unfathomable, making one's heart tremble. This energy was actually the accumulation of the Temple of Truth through the divine spark devouring the source energy of hell for countless eras. It could exert a certain degree of the true demon god's power. It was also because of this power that they were able to carry out the assessment in the temple and completely eradicate the enemies who tried to destroy the temple, turning them into ashes. Even the demon god was afraid of the defense power of the Temple of Truth. Another few days passed. Interesting, this is the ability of the true demon god. As Xiaoping carefully studied the Temple of Truth, his eyes lit up. He had finally studied a part of the true demon god's ability. This was a rather terrifying ability. The first ability was called turning false to true. Whatever the true demon god said must be true. Even if it was false before, once the true demon god said it, the matter would definitely become true. For example, the true demon god said in some lesser kiliacosm that only men could have children and women couldn't. Then men would definitely have children and women absolutely couldn't, forcefully changing the laws of matter and life. For example, when he came to an ancient family and met the heir of an ancient family, he could directly say that the person was a beggar and that he was the true heir. Then he would become the true heir, and the original heir would become a street beggar. Everyone's memory would be changed and turned from false to true. For example, if the true demon god came to the real universe and said that he was the leader of the human race, then he would definitely become the leader of the human race. From his birth to his growth to his pinnacle, the false memories would be engraved into the memories of all living beings. No one would doubt that forcefully twisting the karmic threads would make all living beings in the universe think that this person was the leader of the human race. It could be said that this was an ability that was even more terrifying than golden words and jade words. This is the power of the demon god? Xiaoping's pupils constricted and his body trembled. He finally understood why people below the level of gods, be it saints or mortals, were so vulnerable in front of experts at the level of demon god. They were like dust. If such a demon god were to come to the real universe, he would be able to easily destroy a peak race as if he were to squash an ant. Just the power of changing memories, changing reality, and reversing cause and effect was enough to make people tremble in fear. This was the power of a demonic god that even saints could not imagine. No laws would be able to resist it. If the true demon god came to the human race and directly used this demon god power to replace himself as the leader of the human race that was revered by tens of thousands of people, then he could easily destroy the human race. After all, who could doubt that this leader that was revered by tens of thousands of people and had saved the human race countless times was actually a demon god? Just this power alone was enough to toy with all living beings in the universe. Of course, the more karmic threads involved, the more power the true demon god had to consume. Changing the memories of countless living beings in the universe like this would require a terrifying amount of energy. However, to the true demon god in its peak state, it was too easy to do such a thing. It was nothing at all. The second ability. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. That was just the first ability of the true demon god. It still had a second ability, and that was the world of lies. If a lie was repeated 10,000 times, it would become the truth. A lie would become a reality when more people believed it. 3 people would become a tiger and the words of the masses would become gold. Under the shroud of the demon god's power, even if the rumors and slanders in the streets were false, the more people that believed them, the more people would believe them. Then this matter would become true. For example, the legend of a mysterious and undying man-killer fiend, even if it was false as long as enough people believed it, the man-killer fiend would become reality and come out from the world of lies. This ability could turn countless legends, myths, fairy tales, ghost stories, horror stories, fables, and other lies into reality, manifesting them from falsehood. This was the world of lies. Any living being or object that was manifested would automatically become a dependent of the true demon god and be controlled by the true demon god. Because of this, there were quite a few living beings that referred to the country ruled by the true demon god as a fairy tale kingdom, a mythical world. The third ability is the demon god's promise. Xia Ping clenched his fist. Once a promise was made with the true demon god, there was absolutely no room for reneging and absolute fairness. Anyone who lied would suffer retribution, and anyone who broke the promise would die. It was because of this ability that the true demon god was considered a neutral demon god during the era of the demon god. Countless living beings begged the true demon god for a contract as a guarantee of fairness. Even demon god level beings would need to ask the true demon god for help, because this power also had the same effect on the demon god, not discriminating between living beings. After all, lying was far too common in the world of hell. No one would believe the words of a demon, not even a demon god. The only thing that could guarantee mutual trust was the true demon god's contract. And the more contracts the true demon god had, the more powerful it would become, and the faster it would grow. So powerful, Xia Ping was amazed. Such a powerful demon god was practically an invincible existence in his eyes. Even among the many demon gods, the true demon god was probably the strongest. But even so, the true demon god still fell. What kind of power could cause the true demon god to fall? He really couldn't understand this. However, this also made him feel a bit of respect towards power. No matter what realm he was at, there would always be existences stronger than him in this universe, so he had to be careful in everything he did. He couldn't afford to fail miserably. Chapter 26-27. Apart from these 3 abilities, Xia Ping didn't discover any other abilities. Perhaps he wasn't strong enough yet, so he couldn't discover more powerful abilities for now. These abilities could be used by the Kunpeng clone, but they wouldn't be as powerful as the demon gods. At most, they could affect experts below the ancient saint level. However, the demon god's power stored in the depths of the shrine was different. It was essentially the most fundamental power left behind by the true demon god. After accumulating for billions of eras, this power had become relatively powerful. Xia Ping could use the demon god's power in the shrine to unleash a portion of the true demon god's power at its peak. However, the demon god's power was only enough for him to use 3 times. If he used it 3 times, the demon god's power in the shrine would be used up. He could only use it as a trump card. Suddenly, Xia Ping's heart skipped a beat. His divine sense sensed an indescribably great will that seemed to be pouring in from the depths of the void. It broke through the shrine's restrictive formation and reached his sea of consciousness directly. Suddenly, an empty voice was heard. "Inheritor of the demon god, please save the Green Lotus Hell." "Who are you?" Xia Ping was shocked. He didn't expect there to be an existence that could break through the shrine's restrictive formation and reach him directly. He could sense that the person talking to him was a great and boundless will. "I am the original will of the Green Lotus Hell." The empty existence replied. "What?" Xia Ping narrowed his eyes. He was really a little surprised. He'd fused with some low-level hell planes before. Although he could sense the power of the plane source of these hell planes, they didn't have their own will. However, this high-level hell plane was different. It actually had its own weak will. It was really unbelievable. "Why do you want me to save the Green Lotus Hell?" Xia Ping asked. He'd been in the demon god's relic all this time, so he didn't know what was happening in the outside world. "The void monsters have already broken through the Green Lotus Hell's defense. Billions of void monsters have killed their way into the Green Lotus Hell. Countless demons have died. These void monsters are devouring the Green Lotus Hell's origin. If we don't stop them, the Green Lotus Hell will completely collapse and be devoured by these void monsters." The empty existence said in a low voice. Boom. In an instant, Xia Ping felt his sea of consciousness suddenly explode. A huge amount of information was transmitted to him. Suddenly, Images flashed in the depths of his sea of consciousness. Suddenly he seemed to see a real scene. Hundreds of millions, no, billions, tens of billions of void monsters flew over from the distant void. They were so densely packed that their numbers were almost incalculable. Every void monster was an undying existence that did not fear death. They charged forward one after another, destroying the Green Lotus Hell's restrictive formation in a frenzy. The demons of the Hell of the Blue Lotus did their best to fight back, but after a few days they couldn't hold out any longer. The void monsters broke through their defenses. In the end, countless demons in the Hell of Blue Lotus were slaughtered by the void monsters. There were countless casualties, and more than half of the Invincible Realm demons were killed or injured, let alone the Primordial Realm demons. The entire Hell of the Green Lotus was in a terrible state. One land after another was destroyed by the void monsters. The void monsters were devouring the essence of the Hell of the Green Lotus, causing the land to wail and wail in agony. If this were to continue, the entire Green Lotus Hell would be destroyed and disappear from Hell. Because of this situation, the survival instinct of the Hell of the Green Lotus was aroused. Countless dead demons gathered their unwillingness after they died, searching for the only chance of survival. They sensed the existence of Xia Ping, who had obtained the inheritance of the demonic god, and immediately used all their strength to break through countless restrictive formations, talking to Xia Ping from the end of time and space. I see. Xia Ping sensed these images and immediately understood what had happened in the past few days. It turned out that the moment he obtained the inheritance of the demonic god, it seemed that the void monsters launched an all-out attack on the Hell of the Green Lotus. The Hell of the Green Lotus was already at a disadvantage, and because of him, they killed dozens of Invincible Realm demons. This was equivalent to greatly weakening the combat power of the Hell of the Green Lotus. The result was imaginable. The demons of the Hell of the Green Lotus collapsed with a single touch, and there were countless casualties. As for the high-level demons and demons above the Primordial Realm, they immediately fled the Hell of the Green Lotus when they saw that the situation was bad, leaving behind only the demons who couldn't escape. After all, the Primordial Realm demons and Invincible Realm demons could survive in the void. Even if they couldn't survive in the Hell of the Green Lotus, they could still head to other high-level hell planes. They wouldn't let themselves be hung up on a tree. Without the high-level demons blocking at the front, the remaining demons were even less of a match. Facing the void monsters that were like a tide and locusts, the demons of the Hell of the Green Lotus were almost completely slaughtered. At this moment, the entire Hell of the Green Lotus was filled with wails, and there were countless casualties. No wonder I suddenly felt that the power of misfortune in my body had increased greatly. So many demons have died. At this moment, Xia Ping also felt that there were dark clouds covering his head. Endless misfortune gathered above his head, and it was as if he was the center of a misfortune vortex. Wisps of misfortune aura condensed, and in the depths of the dark clouds, there were countless evil spirits and skeletons rolling and roaring. It was as if countless vengeful spirits had gathered together, and they were filled with endless hatred and resentment. Without a doubt, after the void monsters devoured the source of the entire Hell of the Green Lotus, their next enemy would definitely be him. This was the guidance of the power of misfortune. No matter where he fled to, these void monsters would meet him under the guidance of the power of misfortune. I have to think of a way to kill these void monsters. Otherwise, the next one to die will be me. Xia Ping touched his chin. To be honest, he had already shared the honor and disgrace of the Hell of the Green Lotus. After all, his true body was in the demon god's ruins, in the Hell of the Green Lotus. There was nowhere to run. Even if he left the demon god's ruins, there would still be a group of void monsters guarding outside. If he didn't kill these void monsters, he wouldn't be able to leave this place safely. Helping the Hell of the Green Lotus was the same as helping himself. But how should I kill so many void monsters? Even the Invincible Realm demons can't stop them. Can I stop them? Xia Ping was very doubtful about this. The will of the Hell of the Green Lotus seemed to have sensed Xia Ping's thoughts and said, "Inheritor of the true demon god, please don't worry about this. The power of this temple is beyond imagination. If you activate the power of this temple slightly, you will immediately be able to unleash an unimaginable power, and you will be able to deal with these void monsters." Third Sect Leader. Chapter 26-28. At the same time in the Green Lotus Hell, countless void monsters had completely taken over this hell. They were like locusts roaming everywhere in the Hell of the Green Lotus, hunting down the remaining devils in the Hell of the Green Lotus and devouring the essence of the Hell of the Green Lotus. The entire Green Lotus Hell was in a wailing state, as if countless giant worms were sucking its blood. Everywhere was in a dilapidated state, as if it was about to collapse. Hee, these stupid demons. They think they can stop us void monsters with the high-level planes of hell. They're overestimating themselves. We've been attacking for countless years and we've finally succeeded today. As long as we devour the source energy of the Green Lotus Hell, the power of our void monsters will increase greatly. Soon, very soon. As long as we keep attacking, the entire world of hell will belong to us void monsters. This world will be ours in the end. No one can take it away from us. The feeling of devouring the source energy of hell is too wonderful. I really want to continue devouring more high-level planes of hell. It's simply a supreme delicacy. There seem to be quite a number of demons left in the Green Lotus Hell. Some slipped through the net. It's just an itch. When we devour the source energy of the Green Lotus Hell, the entire Green Lotus Hell will be completely destroyed. All living things will cease to exist. But there seems to be a demon god's relic in this hell. There's a powerful and mysterious demon god's power in there, and there's even the Yellow Springs River. Maybe we can test it? Don't go there. Have you forgotten the painful lesson? We rashly entered the demon god's relic, and in the end, we void monsters suffered great losses. Since we can't enter, we'll just let it exist. Indeed. Don't cause unnecessary trouble. Our goal is to destroy the Green Lotus Hell and occupy a part of it. Don't bother about other things. But it seems that some demons managed to escape this time. We didn't kill all the high-level demons. It doesn't matter. Devouring the source energy of hell is the most important thing. As long as all the planes of hell disappear, these demons will have no place to hide. In time they won't have a place to stand and they'll definitely die. That's right. They think that everything will be fine once they escape, but they don't know that death is inevitable. It's just a matter of time. Without the protection of the hell plane, these demons have nowhere to hide. Sooner or later we'll devour them all. If the skin doesn't exist, how can the hair attach to it? These demons don't understand this. Their defeat is only a matter of time. Many void monsters discussed among themselves. Waves of unique fluctuations appeared in the depths of the void. They were currently speaking the void language, a language unique to them. Because these unique fluctuations were difficult for the demons to detect and hear, the demons believed that these void monsters couldn't speak at all. In fact, it was not that they could not speak, but they disdained to communicate with demons. In their eyes, demons were prey, livestock kept in captivity in one place. Rumble, right at this moment, a terrifying, mysterious, noble and ancient aura instantly enveloped the entire hell of the Green Lotus. From the inside out, it covered an area of hundreds of millions of light years. All the void monsters that entered the hell of the Green Lotus instantly felt their hearts palpitate. Apprehensive expressions appeared in the depths of their hearts, as if they had been targeted by the power of a demon god. In the depths of the void, the eyes of a demon god looked down from above, cold and emotionless, as if it viewed everything as dogs. All the void monsters felt a chill run through their bodies, as if time and space had frozen at this moment. Damn it, what kind of power is this? Demon god, this is the power of a demon god. Damn it, what's going on? Didn't they say that the power of a demon god doesn't exist in the hell of the Green Lotus? Why did such an accident happen? Who triggered the power of a demon god? Who is it? Who is it that wants to deal with us? All the void monsters were instantly terrified and panicked. This power was ancient, noble, and above all life. It seemed to be permeated with countless laws of the universe. Even though they were known as undying monsters, they were still terrified when faced with the power of an ancient demon god. They felt a throbbing from their souls and they were terrified. At this moment, it was impossible for them to escape from the hell of the Green Lotus even if they wanted to. It was as if the entire hell of the Green Lotus was enveloped by the power of a demon god's domain, forming a unique universe. And this eye of the demon god was cast by Xia Ping from the true shrine of the demon god's ruins. He borrowed the power of the true demon god to display a portion of the power of the true demon god and cast the demon god domain. His goal was to kill all these void monsters. Although it was a pity to waste a trump card opportunity, he had no other choice but to use it now. If he didn't destroy all these void monsters, he probably wouldn't be able to leave this place. Suddenly, a mechanical voice came from the void, reaching the depths of the consciousness of every void monster. Who are you? Where did you come from? This voice permeated every corner of the void monster's souls. This was the voice from the soul. Even if they weren't proficient in each other's language, they would still be able to hear each other's consciousness. They subconsciously wanted to reply. But at this instant, the leader of the void monsters snapped back to his senses and roared angrily, "You can't say it. Do you want to die?" "What?" All the void monsters snapped back to their senses and were extremely shocked. Their souls had been imbued with a tyrannical divine seal, and they absolutely couldn't reveal their origins. If they revealed it, even if they didn't have any consciousness, they would be instantly killed by the power of the seal. This was an absolute seal. In fact, it was also because of this reason that they didn't communicate with the demons. They were afraid that in the process of communicating, they would reveal a large amount of information about the void monsters and trigger the soul seal. Instantly, the void monsters shut their mouths, not daring to leak a single bit of their aura. But this was also what Xiaoping wanted to see. Under the true demon god's domain, any life that was questioned by the true demon god could not answer or lie. Otherwise they would undoubtedly die, plundering lives and turning them into stone statues. This was the power of the law of cause and effect. Whoosh! In an instant, the void monsters that kept their mouths shut suddenly realized that a formless and tyrannical demon god's power had permeated every corner of their bodies, even entering their souls. With a few cracking sounds, they widened their eyes and realized that their bodies were in a petrified state. Before they could put up any resistance, their entire bodies had turned into lifelike stone statues. Instantly, hundreds of millions of stone statues stood in every corner of the Green Lotus Hell. Chapter 26-29. Damn it, this is the power of the true demon god. A void monster leader's expression changed drastically. It immediately recalled that this was the terrifying power of the true demon god. Under the domain of the true demon god, no living being was allowed to lie, and they had to answer when questioned by the true demon god. If one of the rules was violated, no matter how strong one was, even if one was a demon god of the same level, one's life would be taken and they would be completely petrified. This was an unreasonable demon god power. How could this be? Why did a demon inherit the power of the true demon god? Wasn't it said that no living being could inherit this inheritance? Why did it appear again? A void monster screamed. It could feel the omnipresent power of the true demon god's domain in the depths of the void. The petrifying power seemed to be spreading to its body, turning it into a stone statue. At this moment, the true demon god's power was at full power, covering an area of billions of light years. It was not something that the invincible demons had encountered in the shrine could compare to. If it was the true demon god's power at this moment, no matter how many trump cards those invincible demons had, even if they had a dozen Permetha boats, it would be useless. They would be instantly petrified, unable to escape. I'll speak, we're from. Some void monsters could not withstand the fear of death, because if they were petrified by the true demon god's power, they would not be able to revive even if they died. Even their souls would be petrified in this place, forever sinking and dying completely. They could not help but cry out, trying to say something. However, before these void monsters could say anything, suddenly from the depths of the void, a mysterious power of karma pierced through countless dimensions like the lightning of divine punishment. Dong dong dong. In an instant, the bodies of these void monsters that tried to leak the secret were blasted apart into pieces, and even their souls were completely dispersed, vanishing from this world and vanishing into nothingness. Staying in the depths of the shrine, Xiaoping, who was using the shrine's power to sense every corner of the Green Lotus Hell, could not help but narrow his eyes. He had thought that he could use this opportunity to explore the secrets of these void monsters, but he did not expect to fail. That terrifying existence seemed to have an extremely tight control over these void monsters. There were no loopholes at all, and any act of leaking information would also lead to the death of these void monsters. However, in reality he was also using such a mechanism to effortlessly kill these void monsters. It could be said that this was the so-called being too clever for one's own good. To him, his main objective had been achieved. As for the secrets of the void monsters, it would not be too late to explore them in the future. Crash! In the next second, those void monsters that did not dare to leak any information were instantly eroded by the power of the true demon god. They widened their eyes and watched as their bodies were completely petrified. In just a few breaths' time, the tens of billions of void monsters that were trying to destroy the entire hell of the Green Lotus were turned into lifeless stone statues. At this moment, it seemed as though the entire hell of the Green Lotus had turned into a place devoid of life. Everything was deathly silent. The true demon god is too powerful. Xia Ping instantly exclaimed endlessly with admiration when he saw this scene. How formidable were these tens of billions of spatial monsters? They simply swept through the world and destroyed everything. They slaughtered those invincible demons to the point of fleeing in a sorry state, causing innumerable casualties. Originally, there were hundreds of trillions of demons in the hell of the Green Lotus. However, they were all devoured by these void monsters and turned into food in their stomachs. How terrifying was this force? It was enough to make countless forces in hell tremble in fear. However, once the power of the true demon god was unleashed, the tens of billions of void monsters were instantly killed in just a few breaths' time. If this matter were to spread out, it was unknown how many people would be scared to death. This was the power of the true demon god. It reigned over everything. And the death of the tens of billions of void monsters seemed to have alarmed an existence in the underworld. Instantly, countless death auras gathered in the depths of the void, forming a huge dark vortex in the sky above the hell of the Green Lotus. Hundreds of millions of black skulls seemed to appear in the depths of the dark vortex. They emitted auras of darkness, terror, death, devouring, and many others. It was simply chilling, as though it represented the end of death. It was as though each black skull represented a type of death. When countless skulls gathered together, the power they emitted was unfathomable, and it drew upon the laws of the universe. Xia Ping narrowed his eyes. He could feel the terror of the hundreds of millions of black skulls. It was as though they were not inferior to the true demon god. This unfathomable death energy was simply chilling. He knew that this black skull was definitely the master behind those void monsters. Fortunately, he didn't know how far away this mysterious master was. Otherwise, if this mysterious master was right in front of him, he would have died without a doubt. That kind of expert wasn't someone he could resist at his current level. At this moment, the black skull spoke. The inheritor of the true demon god killed my people and foiled my plans. I will remember this matter. In the near future, I will definitely seek justice for you. I will not rest until I die. A cold, ancient, and deathly voice reverberated continuously. This voice seemed to contain a curse. The nameless power of the curse transformed into extremely complex and profound gray runes. They were like maggots in the bones, attempting to penetrate through the endless spacetime and attach themselves onto Xia Ping's soul. What? Xia Ping's expression changed drastically. He sensed that if this death curse were to hit his soul, it would probably be like a death coordinate. He reckoned that this unknown existence would use this curse coordinate to find him. Even if he traveled to the ends of the universe, this unknown existence would probably be able to kill him. He definitely couldn't let this unknown existence have its way. Otherwise he would definitely die. Devour. In an instant, his Gaia avatar flew out and instantly devoured the curse runes. At the same time, the power of the curse runes was transferred into the cursed black coffin. Whoosh! Immediately, the terrifying power of the curse was completely devoured by the cursed black coffin like a drop of water falling into the sea. The unknown existence was also shocked. He didn't expect that his power would be of no use at all. It disappeared without a trace just like that. The inheritor of the true demon god, you are quite capable. I will remember you. We will meet again in the future. Boom! In the next second after saying these words, the dark vortex also dissipated. The black skull seemed to merge into the depths of the void. All the darkness, death, and curse power disappeared completely. Everything returned to normal. It was as though nothing had happened. Third sect leader. Chapter 2630. Damn it, what was that just now? At this moment, Xia Ping was sweating profusely. He found that his back was almost soaked, and his heart was trembling. This was the first time he had felt so close to death. Fortunately, he had many trump cards and could easily destroy the power of the curse. Otherwise, this mysterious being would be able to kill him with just a thought from an unknown distance away. It was really dangerous just now. Damn it, didn't they say that there were no demon gods in hell for a long time? What's the background of that guy just now? Xia Ping clenched his fists. He was terrified. To be honest, that mysterious existence was definitely a terrifying existence that far surpassed the invincible demons. The other party's power had reached an unfathomable level. If he hadn't stayed in the true shrine and had many trump cards on him, such an existence could have easily killed him in an instant. There was no way he could resist it. It could only be said that the mysterious existence that controlled the void monsters was beyond imagination. It was an unfathomable life. Beep beep. At this moment, the system's voice sounded, "Congratulations to the host. You have offended a large number of demons and void monsters. This time you have obtained a large number of hatred crystals. Currently the host has a total of 9,500 hatred crystals. I hope you can continue to work hard. 9,500 hatred crystals. Hearing the system's voice, Xiaoping immediately calmed down a lot. His behavior this time had more or less some benefits. He had obtained a total of about 1,000 hatred crystals. Moreover, he was only short of 500 hatred crystals to obtain 10,000 hatred crystals, which was equivalent to 1,000,000,000,000 hatred points. At that time he believed that he would be able to get a big gift from the system. However, he didn't know what kind of gift the system would give him. He believed that it would not be weaker than the big gift from before. At the same time, he believed that it would not take too long for him to obtain 500 hatred crystals. At this moment, a joyful and grateful voice sounded. It was the Green Lotus Hell's original will. Thank you, the inheritor of the demon god, for saving the Green Lotus Hell. You will obtain the friendship of the Green Lotus Hell. Suddenly, Xiaoping felt as if the entire Green Lotus Hell was happy. Within a radius of hundreds of millions of light years, countless Hell's original power expressed their desire to get close to him. It was as if he had become the son of the heavenly Tao. He could easily mobilize the Green Lotus Hell's original power. It was as if he could stand in the Green Lotus Hell and exert 50% of his combat power. This was a rather terrifying bonus. If he stayed in the Green Lotus Hell, perhaps no demon would be a match for him. His combat strength was terrifying beyond compare. Inheritor of the demon god, I wonder if you're willing to become the master of the Green Lotus Hell. At that moment, the voice of the Green Lotus Hell's origin will reverberated in Xiaoping's sea of consciousness. What? Xiaoping blinked his eyes. The Lord of Blue Lotus Hell? What does this mean? Could it be that he wants me to become the ruler of the Green Lotus Hell? Truth be told, he had devoured the essence of the burning hell and became its ruler. But now, the essence of the Green Lotus Hell was inviting him to become its ruler. He found the whole thing inconceivable. The Green Lotus Hell's origin will seem to sense Xiaoping's thoughts. It's easy to become the ruler of elementary and intermediate Hell's existential planes. All you need to do is refine the essences of those Hell's existential planes, and you'll automatically become the ruler of those Hell's existential planes. But high-level Hell's existential planes are different. Their essences are more than 1,000,000 times stronger than those of intermediate Hell's existential planes. Even invincible realm demons can't refine their essences. Therefore, if you want to become the ruler of a high-level Hell's existential plane, you must first obtain the acknowledgement of the high-level Hell's existential plane's origin will. Otherwise you'll never succeed. I see. Xiaoping came to a sudden realization. It turned out that becoming the ruler of a high-level Hell's existential plane was countless times more difficult than becoming the ruler of intermediate and low-level Hell's existential planes. First of all, the essences of high-level Hell's existential planes were too powerful. If you wanted to completely refine them, you'd have to reach the demon god level. However, experts like that basically didn't exist in Hell. Therefore, almost no demons could refine the essence of high-level Hell's existential planes, and very few demons could become the ruler of high-level Hell's existential plane. However, that didn't mean that it was impossible. If you wanted to do that, you'd have to obtain the acknowledgement of the high-level Hell's existential plane's origin will. If you obtained its acknowledgement, then refining the essence would naturally be twice the result with half the effort. The problem was that if you wanted to obtain the acknowledgement of the high-level Hell's existential plane's origin will, you'd have to make a great contribution to the high-level Hell's existential plane. Otherwise, it would be impossible to succeed. From ancient times until now, who knew how many invincible demons had wanted to obtain the acknowledgement of the high-level Hell's existential plane's origin will, but to no avail. After all, it was too difficult to obtain the acknowledgement of the high-level Hell's existential plane's origin will. But Xiaoping was different now. He'd practically saved the Hell of the Green Lotus from destruction when it was on the brink of collapse. In other words, he'd saved the Hell of the Green Lotus. This was naturally a great contribution to the Hell of the Green Lotus. The entire Hell of the Green Lotus was very grateful to Xiaoping for saving its life. At the same time, because of Xiaoping's identity as the true demon god's successor, the Hell of the Green Lotus existential plane's origin will approved of Xiaoping even more. If such a demon god-level demon controlled the Hell of the Green Lotus, then it would be of great benefit to the Hell of the Green Lotus. If they were attacked by void monsters in the future, they wouldn't have to worry too much. It could be said that the master of a high-level hell's existential plane and the high-level hell's existential plane's origin will were complementary. It was like a symbiotic relationship, and it would be of great benefit to both sides. Inheritor of the true demon god, are you willing to become the master of the Hell of the Green Lotus? The Hell of the Green Lotus existential plane asked again. I'm willing, replied Xiaoping. To be honest, the opportunity to become the master of a high-level hell's existential plane's origin was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If he missed it, he'd probably be struck by lightning. Moreover, if he became the master of a high-level hell's existential plane's origin he'd definitely obtain an enormous amount of hell's origin which would be of great benefit to him. It would also allow his Hellfire Golden Crow bloodline to evolve further. There was no reason not to agree to something as great as this. That's great. Hearing this answer, the Hell of the Green Lotus existential plane's origin was overjoyed. My lord, please accept the Hell of the Green Lotus's origin will. From now on, you and I will live and die together. Boom. In an instant, a huge green mass of Hell's origin power, which looked like primal chaos, came from the void and instantly poured into Xiaoping's body. Chapter 26:31. This. All of a sudden, a tremor ran through Xiaoping as he sensed the essence power of the greater hell pouring into him, almost as if it didn't cost anything. Countless golden crow cells in his body were cheering excitedly. For the golden crow of hell bloodline, the energy that came from the origin of hell was the best tonic. In a few breaths' time, he realized that the golden crow hell cells in his body were awakening at a crazy rate. 100 million cells, 1 billion cells, 10 billion cells, 100 billion cells. Wave after wave of energy burst out from his body like a flood, flowing into his limbs and bones, filling every corner of his body with abundant energy. However, the most important thing wasn't the infusion of origin energy, but the contract between Hell of the Green Lotus origin will and Xiaoping's soul. In an instant, a green slate appeared in the middle of the green chaotic origin energy. This was the origin slate of Hell of the Green Lotus, also known as the creation slate. If one controlled the creation slate, it was equivalent to controlling everything in Hell of the Green Lotus. Without the acknowledgement of the Hell of the Green Lotus origin will, it was impossible to refine the creation slate, and the origin will would resist greatly. However, Xiaoping had already been acknowledged by the origin will, so refining it was relatively easy. It was as if he had been guaranteed a place in Tsinghua University. He didn't need to take any tests. Rumble in an instant, Xiaoping felt his soul tremble. Wisps of his soul aura instantly merged with the creation slate. In a breath's time he had completely refined the creation slate. This? Xiaoping immediately realized that the entire world had undergone a tremendous change. His will had merged with the creation slate and entered the deepest part of the Hell of the Green Lotus origin. He realized that his soul had enveloped the entire Hell of the Green Lotus. He could feel every mountain, valley, river, and even every grain of sand in the Hell of the Green Lotus. It was as if the Hell of the Green Lotus was a part of him. As long as he activated the origin energy of the Hell of the Green Lotus, he could change the terrain of the Hell of the Green Lotus at will. For example, he could make the mountains taller, widen the rivers, and so on. It was as if the god of creation could fabricate the world at will and change it into the shape and place he liked. However, this required a large amount of origin energy, and he couldn't do it as he pleased. It seems like the damage is too severe. At this moment, Xiaoping frowned. It didn't take long for him to realize that the damage done to the Hell of the Green Lotus was simply too severe. Initially, it was in perfect condition, but right now, it was missing a huge chunk of its essence power. It was like a heavenly dog devouring the moon. It had forcefully swallowed a huge chunk of the moon, causing the Hell of Green Lotus to suffer heavy losses. Even the quintessence will had suffered a heavy injury, and it was like a candle flickering in the wind. It was no wonder that the origin will of the Hell of the Green Lotus had been so anxious and had been searching everywhere for someone who could save it. If it had been one step too late, the entire origin will of the Hell of the Green Lotus would have been devoured by the void monster and destroyed. He could vaguely sense that the entire Green Lotus Hell was riddled with holes, and it emanated an aura of destruction as if it would collapse in the next second. This? Xiaoping was speechless. He had thought that he had taken advantage of the situation, but he hadn't expected that he would end up in a disaster. This was a high-level hell plane that was on the verge of collapse. If he wanted to repair this high-level hell plane, he didn't know how long it would take and how much energy it would consume. But then again it made sense. If the Hell of the Green Lotus had been at its peak, There was no way its origin would have acknowledged a mere ancient sage like him. It was precisely because it was on the brink of destruction that it had lowered its demands and accepted the mission. No, that's not right. There seems to be a simple way to repair it. At this moment, Xiaoping rubbed his chin and his eyes lit up. He looked at the billions of void monsters that had been petrified by the true demon god's power. To be honest, the bodies of these void monsters possessed a massive amount of origin energy. It was just that ordinary demons had no way of making use of it. But it was different for him. He possessed the power of the golden crow of hell. Every drop of blood in his body burned with the flames of the golden crow of hell. He could easily refine these void monsters and ignite them like fuel. If he could ignite the corpses of these billions of void monsters and fuse the massive amount of origin energy into the hell of the Green Lotus Hell, not only would he be able to repair the hell of the Green Lotus Hell's origin energy, but he would also be able to make the hell of the Green Lotus stronger. With that thought, he no longer hesitated. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, with the help of the hell of the Green Lotus Hell's origin will, Xiaoping stepped out of the demon god's ruins. No array formation could stop him. He went directly to the place where countless void monsters gathered. At this moment, the demons in the hell of the Green Lotus were basically all dead. He was not worried that his actions would be seen by other demons. Whoosh! In the next second, Xiaoping circulated the golden crow of hell's flames in his body. In an instant, it turned into a sea of fire that covered the sky and burned the petrified void monsters. Although these void monsters were petrified, the origin energy in their bodies did not change. Therefore, when the golden crow of hell's flames seeped into the bodies of these void monsters, instantly, it was as if flames had encountered oil. They began to burn fiercely. Rumble! In an instant, the stone statues of the void monsters were burned by the golden crow of hell's flames. They immediately turned into huge torches. Scarlet flames shot up into the sky. If there were demons watching from the outside, they would definitely see that the entire hell of the Green Lotus was shrouded in flames. It was as if it had turned into a huge fireball. It had turned into a blazing sun that emitted endless light. Under Xiaoping's actions, several days passed in the blink of an eye. During this period of time, tens of billions of void monsters were ignited by the power of the golden crow of hell's flames. Their bodies were burning and all the impurities in their bodies were burned to ashes. They were turned into wisps of black flames that were expelled. In the end, all of them left behind was the purest and most refined origin energy. Even the origin energy of the hell of the Green Lotus that had been devoured by these void monsters was released from their stomachs and returned to the ground of the hell of the Green Lotus. It could be said that this time, not only did the hell of the Green Lotus not suffer any losses, they had also made a huge profit. It's starting to evolve. Xiaoping was extremely excited. As the void monsters' corpses melted, they turned into a huge amount of hell's origin energy. This origin energy was like a golden liquid that fused into every corner of the hell of the Green Lotus. And this energy was greedily absorbed by the Green Lotus hell's origin will. Chapter 2632. Whoosh! In an instant, when the origin energy of the void monsters entered the hell of the Green Lotus, the hell of the Green Lotus, which was originally in a damaged state, was immediately mended. There were terrifying space-time cracks scattered all over the hell of the Green Lotus, which almost cut the hell of the Green Lotus into tens of thousands of pieces. Now that it had received the origin energy, it was mended at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just a day, the space-time cracks caused by the void monsters, as well as the Tao marks that were almost impossible to recover, were rapidly mended. The hell of the Green Lotus was restored to its perfect state. Waves of vitality appeared in the depths of the hell of the Green Lotus. The ground, mountains, deserts, volcanoes, rivers, and other places were all restored to their original state. It was as though time had been reversed. If it wasn't for the previous memories, probably no one would believe that the hell of the Green Lotus had suffered such injuries. It had almost completely disintegrated. Roar! The origin will of the hell of the Green Lotus cried out excitedly. It was as though it was the amalgamation of countless lives. It was incomparable joy, as though it had been reborn. At the same time, it was even more grateful to Xiaoping. It had originally thought that it was finished, and the entire high-level hell plane might be destroyed because of this. In fact, such things happened occasionally in the current hell plane. Even high-level hell planes couldn't guarantee their eternal existence. If they were attacked by the void monsters, they would probably be destroyed and face the end of the world. Because of this, the origin will of the hell of the Green Lotus and Xiaoping's soul fused even more deeply. If there was a comparison of loyalty, it was 70% before and 90% now. However, this was just the beginning. After all, it had only devoured and absorbed a portion of the origin energy of the void monsters. There was still a large portion of the origin energy that it hadn't absorbed. This origin energy was where the true essence was. In the past, there had never been a hell plane that had the chance to devour and absorb the origin energy like this. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Within this month, the hell of the Green Lotus had been devouring and absorbing the energy essence of tens of billions of void monsters. It was like a glutton with a bottomless appetite, absorbing the huge amount of energy crazily. During this month, the entire hell of the Green Lotus had undergone earth-shattering changes. First, its surface area had expanded, and continued to expand. Its surface area was much larger than before. It had expanded by at least 1,000,000 times. The previous Green Lotus hell was like a baby compared to the current Green Lotus hell. Thanks to the expansion of the area, the entire hell of the Green Lotus was filled with towering mountain ranges. They were like primordial dragons that occupied every corner of the hell of the Green Lotus. One river after another snaked through the lands like a primal chaos elder snake, intersecting with each other as they flowed through the lands. There was no need to mention the other valleys, deserts, volcanoes, islands, and so on and so forth. They were like the stars in the sky, and they covered every single corner of the hell of the Green Lotus. If the demons who were familiar with the hell of the Green Lotus returned, they would definitely be dumbfounded. The hell of the Green Lotus was completely different from before. It was a completely different high-level hell plane. Of course, the expansion of the land and the changes to the environment were just child's play. Most importantly, the Green Lotus hell's origin energy was more than 1,000,000 times stronger than before. This was the most important thing in the infernal plane. If the fiend devils stayed in the hell of the Green Lotus, they would be nourished by the essence of the hell of the Green Lotus. Their strength would increase exponentially, and they would be able to give birth to a huge number of high-level fiend devils. Because of the increase in origin energy, the density of the hell of the Green Lotus had increased by more than 1,000 times. In the past, if invincible realm fiend devils had fought in a high-level hell plane, they might have been able to cause irreparable damage to the hell of the Green Lotus. But things were different now. The density of the hell of the Green Lotus had increased, and the immense origin energy had turned the hell of the Green Lotus into an indestructible magical treasure. Even if thousands of invincible realm fiend devils were fighting in the hell of the Green Lotus, the resulting shockwaves wouldn't be able to do much damage to the hell of the Green Lotus. Seems like I'm still missing something. Xia Ping's soul had fused with the essence of the hell of the Green Lotus, and he was like a god looking down from above. With the help of the essence, he could sense every nook and cranny of the hell of the Green Lotus. Seeing the changes in the hell of the Green Lotus filled him with a sense of accomplishment. It was almost like seeing his own child grow up. That said, deep in his heart he could sense that something wasn't perfect. All right. All of a sudden, Xia Ping had a flash of inspiration. It was as if a bolt of lightning had pierced through the sky. I'm missing a sun. Even the dimly lit hell should have a sun. He realized that such a powerful high-level hell plane like the hell of the Green Lotus didn't have a sun. In fact, it wasn't just the hell of the Green Lotus. It was the same for the other hell planes. After all, it wasn't easy to create a sun. It was the source of life energy for all living things. If one wanted to become a sun, one had to be above countless living things. Apart from the Golden Crow clan, no other living things were qualified to become a sun. Even the phoenix, which was said to control the supreme flames, was the same. Whoosh, thinking of this, Xia Ping didn't hesitate. He activated the Golden Crow bloodline in his body. Wisps of Golden Crow flames of the hell gushed out and spun like chaos. After an unknown period of time, a massive dark golden sun with a diameter of tens of thousands of kilometers slowly rose into the sky, radiating boundless heat. Countless strands of infernal Golden Crow flames roiled around it, exuding a supreme aura. It was as if any living being that approached it would be incinerated into ashes by these flames, completely annihilated. Admittedly, the dark golden sun with a diameter of tens of thousands of kilometers was still relatively small for such a huge hell of the Green Lotus. It could only envelop a small area. However, even though it was small, it had all the essentials. At the same time, it was also a seed. It could use the hell of the Green Lotus origin power to slowly grow. As time passed, it would definitely grow to a powerful sun that could match the hell of the Green Lotus. Boom, in an instant, the dark golden sun formed a connection with the hell of the Green Lotus origin willpower. It was as if it had become the source of the hell of the Green Lotus origin willpower. It instantly rose hundreds of millions of kilometers into the sky and hung above the hell of the Green Lotus. It burned fiercely, and endless heat and light spread to every corner of the hell. Chapter 2633. This? Xiaoping's eyes shone brightly. Although he had only done it on a whim, he realized that it had a shocking effect. When the dark golden sun rose into the sky and formed a connection with the Green Lotus Hell's origin will, he discovered that the Green Lotus Hell's origin will was extremely excited. It was as though his actions had made up for all of the Green Lotus Hell's flaws. In the past, the Green Lotus Hell only had darkness. There were very few other colors. It was deathly still without any signs of life. But after the sun appeared, there were changes in night and day, hot and cold, and the rotation of time and space of the 4 seasons. Such transformations were extremely important to the higher planes of hell. They represented the key to the next step in their evolution. I see. Xiaoping received a huge amount of information from the Green Lotus Hell's origin will. He finally understood why the Green Lotus Hell's origin will was so excited about his actions. After all, the reason why no demon god had been born in hell so far was because there was no hell plane that could give birth to a demon god. In hell, the strongest hell plane was the high-level hell plane. It was practically the strongest world in hell. Even though some high-level hell planes had extremely strong origin energy, they couldn't advance. They were stuck at the bottleneck of high-level hell planes and couldn't advance to demon god planes. The most important reason was that high-level hell planes didn't have changes in night and day. They didn't have the rotation of time and space of spring, summer, autumn, and winter. This was a fatal flaw. Such changes in the environment would lead to the diversity of life and the activity of hell planes. It would also lead to the birth of a huge, unique life force. Therefore, without such changes, some high-level hell planes wouldn't be able to advance no matter how rich their origin energy was. They would always be stuck in this realm. In fact, the lack of changes was actually the lack of a sun. It was because of the lack of a sun that hell lacked an opportunity for high-level demons to advance to demon god planes. It lacked an opportunity for high-level hell planes to advance to demon god planes. But things were different now. Xiaoping's actions had given birth to the first sun in the hell of the Green Lotus, giving it the key to evolve into the demon god plane. One could only imagine how excited the essence of the hell of Green Lotus was right now. It could sense that its essence of hell was constantly growing stronger and transforming. It could even sense a sliver of deathless demon god substance being born. Of course, it would take a very, very long time before it could truly transform. But time was the last thing high-grade hellish planes lacked. Once the evolution began, it would not stop. What a freak accident. Xiaoping's eyes glowed with excitement. He had wanted to use this opportunity to split the Golden Crow's origin and create clones of the sun, using them to assist him in his cultivation. However, he didn't expect that these sun clones would be so beneficial to the infernal plane. They were simply crucial factors. The two powers complemented each other. Crash, as the dark golden sun rose into the sky above the hell of the Green Lotus, he could feel the connection between him and the essence of the hell of the Green Lotus growing stronger. If it had been 90% before, it was now 100%. Suddenly, a huge amount of hell's origin energy surged out from the depths of the void. It surged into his body and was devoured by every cell in his body. In the blink of an eye, the Golden Crow cells in his body began to awaken. 100 million, 1 billion, 5 billion, 10 billion, 50 billion, 100 billion. Normally, these Golden Crow cells were very difficult to awaken. They needed to devour a lot of energy. But now, with the infusion of hell's origin energy, they easily broke through the seal and released a huge amount of Golden Crow energy. Boom, the next second, Xiaoping felt his body tremble. It was as if even his soul was trembling. He finally awakened 1 trillion Golden Crow cells. This was 1 trillion Golden Crow cells. It was as if a quantitative change had led to a qualitative change. At this moment, every single Golden Crow of Hell cells had undergone a qualitative change. Their entire bodies had transformed into tiny dark golden suns, emitting blazing heat. It was as if there were trillions of tiny dark golden suns releasing heat in his body. This heat was terrifying and boundless. It could burn everything in the world into ashes. With Xiaoping's body as the center, the area within a radius of 100,000 light-years seemed to be enveloped by the dark golden light. It was as if he had transformed into a terrifying dark golden sun with a diameter of 100,000 light-years. The entire land seemed to be incinerated by this terrifying heat. All the soil, sand, and other substances melted into a state of lava. Heat waves surged as lava flowed. It was as if the area within a radius of 100,000 light-years had turned into a molten hell. A large amount of heat from the molten lava flowed and crackled. Volcanoes formed one after another. It was as if terrifying flaming creatures were being born and bred continuously. At the same time, Xiaoping's body underwent a heaven-shaking, earth-toppling transformation. One hell rune after another emerged from the depths of his 1 trillion gold crow hellfire cells. Every cell had one hell rune, and that was 1 trillion hell rune. These hell runes also fused with the more than 200 bones in his body, causing his bones to turn a dark gold color. Dense hell golden crow runes appeared on the surface of his bones, as if they were scriptures of the supreme hell. Vaguely, these bones emitted an immortal aura of divinity. It was as if they could withstand the endless erosion of time. They were eternal and undying, causing one's heart to tremble. Such great power. Xiaoping clenched his fists. He could feel that all the bones in his body had been successfully tempered and completely transformed into godly bones. A terrifying power surged out from the depths of his body. He felt that the power in his body had reached a terrifying level. A light punch was enough to shatter the void and shatter the spatial barriers in all directions like glass. The power of awakening 1 trillion golden crow cells made him feel extremely domineering. It was as if he was invincible. In the next second his heart stirred. A mysterious and boundless bloodline aura surged into his heart. It was as if a new golden crow mystique of hell was being born in his body. Chapter 2634. This? Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. He suddenly discovered that there was a strange movement between his eyebrows. It was as if something had broken out of its shell and his skin had completely split open. Dong. In an instant, his body trembled. It was as if all the blood vessels in his body had trembled. An incredible power surged out from the depths of his sea of consciousness. With a snap, a third eye emerged from between his eyebrows. It was a dark golden divine eye. It was cold and emotionless, high and mighty, as if it was the ruler of everything. It was as if being stared at by this eye was like being stared at by the primordial god of the underworld. Even if one fled to the ends of the universe, one would not be able to escape. It was simply a matter of death. This was Xiaoping's new bloodline ability, Trial's Eye. At the same time, this was also his newly born third eye. This eye was completely different from the previous eye of the Golden Crow and the Eye of Hell. It possessed incredible power. Once the Trial's Eye was used, as long as the enemy had sinned, it could instantly bind the enemy. It would produce karma chains and completely lock the enemy in place. Moreover, this power was not single target. It could only target one enemy. Instead, it was area-specific. As long as the eye shrouded the enemy, all the enemies would enter the trial's domain. Under the trial's domain, the enemy's power would be sealed, and they would not be able to move. What a powerful power. Xiaoping was a little surprised. He activated his third eye, Trial's Eye. When this eye's gaze fell, the surrounding tens of thousands of light-years seemed to be enveloped by the trial's domain. Wherever his gaze landed, all the laws of time, space, and other things seemed to freeze. It was as if everything had turned into an eternally still space. In such a domain, no enemy would be able to move. If it was just the freezing of the laws of time and space, the most important thing was that the gaze contained the power of the laws of cause and effect. It was as if a trial had been launched. The karma chains would instantly bind the enemy, making it impossible for them to escape. Even if some creatures were proficient in the laws of time and space and could not be bound by the power of laws, under the karma chains, they would not be able to escape. Wherever the gaze landed, everything became still. It was as if everything had been judged. There seems to be a huge space of nothingness inside this eye. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. His divine sense power seeped into the trial's eye. Very quickly, he discovered that there was a huge prison of nothingness in the depths of the pupil, trial space. This trial space was like primal chaos, with chaotic air currents constantly roiling about. There was nothing there, as if it was a space of nothingness. However, under Xiaoping's control, this primal chaos space was like a world of ideas. With the circulation of his spiritual energy, it could transform into anything. It was as if he could turn this space of judgment into a huge prison with just a thought. At the same time, the surrounding space of judgment was incomparably sturdy, reaching a supreme state where no magic could invade and no magic could touch it. Because of this, This space could capture countless criminals and lock them up in the trial space. If a prisoner were to enter the trial space, no matter how strong he was, he would never be able to escape from the prison. He would be sealed forever until the end of the universe, until the end of time. When the Golden Crow of Hell was at its peak, it had used the trial's eye to capture countless demon gods with terrifying strength. Those demon gods that relied on their immortal bodies were unscrupulous and tyrannical. However, after encountering the Golden Crow of Hell, they were all imprisoned in the judgment space, unable to leave for the rest of their lives. No enemy could rescue these demon gods. This was simply the most powerful prison. During the demon god era, this was a prison that countless demons were terrified of. There was no return, only death. Of course, there was a reason why the Golden Crow of Hell chose to imprison these demon gods in the trial space. It was because these demon gods were imprisoned in the trial space. The Golden Crow of Hell could also absorb the power of these demon gods to strengthen its own power and improve quickly. It could be said that these prisoners were huge batteries that could be used at critical moments to replenish the consumption of the source power in its body. This was also one of the reasons why the Golden Crow of Hell didn't kill these demon gods. The Trial's Eye is a very powerful magic. Xiaoping was also very surprised. He had awakened the Golden Crow's Eye and the Eye of Hell before. They had the ability to see through all illusions and were extremely powerful at the same time. The third eye might not be as powerful as the Golden Crow's Eye and the Eye of Hell, but it was extremely powerful. It could be said to have an unbeatable auxiliary ability. As long as he used the Trial's Eye, he could completely freeze countless enemies. At that time, it would be like catching a turtle in a jar. The Eye of Hell and the Golden Crow's Eye would be able to use all their power to burn the enemies to death. If he didn't want to burn them to death, he could also imprison these enemies in the trial space and suppress them forever. The Golden Crow's Eye, the Eye of Hell, and the Trial's Eye. The combined power of the three eyes was simply invincible. This was also the foundation for the Golden Crow of Hell to become the most powerful demon god in Hell. Vaguely, the three eyes on his body opened at the same time. His body seemed to emit a powerful demon god aura. It was as if time and space within a radius of tens of thousands of light years had frozen. At this moment, he had turned into a god, looking down from above as if he was the ruler of everything. He felt like he was the ancient god of the underworld, controlling the fate of all life. What surprised Xiaoping even more was that when the three eyes opened, the source power of the three eyes seemed to circulate and form a stable triangular symbol, supporting and promoting each other. It seemed like it wouldn't take long for these three eyes to evolve further. At this moment, Xiaoping raised his head and realized that the entire sky above the Hell of the Green Lotus had been shrouded by the tribulation clouds without him knowing. These black tribulation clouds were surging like mercury. It was as if the 9 heavens were stacked together, making it unbelievably heavy. At the same time, the tremendous power of tribulation was spreading out in the depths of the void. Instantly, he knew that he was going to have to face the tribulation thunder. The tribulation thunder this time around was more than 10 times stronger than before. This was the tribulation thunder of 720 levels, Bing Fong. When the tribulation thunder appeared, the sky above the Hell of the Green Lotus was filled with a strong gust of wind. It was as if the tribulation thunder had turned into a green hurricane. Wherever it went, it would turn all life into ashes. Under the stacked power of tribulation thunder and wind tribulation, a mere gust of wind was enough to turn immemorial ancient state demons into dust, never to exist again. If there were any other demons in the Hell of the Green Lotus, they would definitely piss their pants upon seeing this. This was just like a calamity that could destroy the world, causing one's heart to palpitate. Chapter 2635. Master, do you need help? At that moment, the Green Lotus Hell's origin will transmitted its voice to Xiaoping's sea of consciousness. It clearly sensed that the tribulation lightning was targeting Xiaoping. As the ruler of the Green Lotus Hell, the origin will couldn't let its ruler die. Otherwise, the Green Lotus Hell would definitely be heavily injured. This was a matter of life and death. It's fine. I don't need help. Hearing those words, Xiaoping waved his hand with a calm expression. Even though the calamity is dangerous and filled with destructive powers, it also contains boundless vitality. This is a great cultivation opportunity for me. He wanted to use the tribulation lightning to temper his body and soul. Which demon god didn't have to go through countless tribulations to be born? Sometimes tribulations weren't a bad thing. Instead, they could speed up one's growth and make one stronger. All right. The Green Lotus Hell's origin will nodded. It could sense Xiaoping's strong confidence, so it chose to trust him and not interfere in this matter. However, it would also keep an eye on Xiaoping's situation. If there was any danger, it would definitely lend a helping hand. Couldn't just stand by and watch. Dong dong dong. In an instant, the third wind tribulation lightning seemed to descend. One after another, terrifying blue tribulation lightning bombarded Xiaoping's head like a violent storm. In just a breath's time, there were over 100 million tribulation lightning descending. It was as if this place had turned into a boundless sea of lightning, covering tens of thousands of light years. All the mountains, valleys, and other places in this area were bombarded by the lightning. They were instantly razed to the ground. Some even created deep pits and turned into the sea. Kill? Xiaoping didn't dodge. He directly attacked the wind tribulation lightning descending from the sky. The powerful golden crow hell bloodline surged in his body. Dense golden crow hell runes appeared on his fist. It was as if his skin was covered by the supreme golden crow scriptures. Any lightning power was isolated from the power of the golden crow scriptures. It was as if he had become an insulator. With a boom, the billions of lightning bolts seemed to be unable to withstand the punch. They were instantly shaken into a frenzy. It was as if the punch had pierced through the dark sky. The originally thick tribulation clouds, which were as thick as the 9 heavens, now had a shocking hole punched through them. It was as if a corner of the sky had collapsed. But this kind of behavior seemed to have completely infuriated the heavenly tribulation. The enormous tribulation cloud roiled ceaselessly, violent gales roared furiously, and the clouds surged. The third wind tribulation lightning that was 10 times larger than before descended once more. This time, the heavenly tribulation and Xiaoping were simply irreconcilable. However, Xiaoping was still full of vigor. He was not afraid in the slightest. Instead, the more he fought, the braver he became. In the blink of an eye, 7 days and 7 nights had passed. The power of the 723rd wind tribulation lightning was simply beyond imagination. It covered an area of over 1 million light years, and each bolt of tribulation lightning could easily kill an ancient demon. If so many lightning tribulations were to descend at the same time, even an immemorial demon would be severely injured. At this moment, the area within a radius of 1 million light years had also been completely devastated by the thunder tribulation, completely razing the place to the ground. It seemed to have turned into a sea with an area of 1 million light years. And this was not an ordinary sea. It was a sea of thunder formed by the essence of the thunder tribulation. The sea water flashed with the crackling light of lightning from time to time, causing one to tremble in fear. It was likely that this place would become a forbidden area for the demons of the Hell of Green Lotus in the future. Even invincible realm demons would have to be careful when entering the Sea of Thunder. I finally succeeded. At this moment, Xiaoping was standing in the center of the Hell of Green Lotus. He immediately breathed a sigh of relief and relaxed. Right now, in order to resist the 723rd wind tribulation lightning, he had almost exhausted all of his mental and physical strength. And now, he had finally withstood the third wind tribulation lightning with all his might. Even with his strength, it was still very difficult for him to resist the third wind tribulation lightning. But at this moment he was also very miserable. All of his clothes were torn to shreds, and all of his hair was standing on end. He looked like a hedgehog and his whole body was numb from the electricity. At the same time, his body was also charred by the power of the thunder tribulation lightning. He looked like a huge piece of charcoal at this moment. One after another, scars split open on the skin of his body. But while Xiaoping looked very miserable, in fact, the life force in the depths of his body was still extremely strong. It was as if there were golden crows of hell living in his blood. Even after going through such a terrifying thunder tribulation, he still couldn't injure him severely. Because of the tempering of the thunder tribulation, Xiaoping's body became even stronger and more terrifying. And it also gave him the opportunity to devour a huge amount of thunder source power, strengthening his thunder magic. At this moment, the thunder tribulation cloud in the sky was very unwilling to give up. It seemed like it still wanted to strike Xiaoping to death. But now that its energy was used up, it had no way to dissipate. At this moment, the entire Hell of Green Lotus had also returned to a clear state. All the power of the thunder tribulation had disappeared. It was as if the sky was clear after the rain, and the air was filled with a fresh aura. Ha! Xiaoping's eyes lit up. When the power of the thunder tribulation disappeared, a huge amount of power of creation surged out from the end of the black hole. This was the endless life force that was born after the thunder tribulation. This was the gift of the Great Way. Only by getting the recognition of the universe and resisting the power of the thunder tribulation would one receive such a shocking reward. Walala, in an instant, the huge amount of power of creation poured into his body as if it was free. His body, which was originally full of injuries, was now rapidly recovering to its peak state. All the wounds were healed. Most importantly, the golden crow of hell cells in his body were also awakening crazily. 100 million cells, 1 billion cells, 10 billion cells, 50 billion cells, 100 billion cells, 300 billion cells, 500 billion cells. Countless golden crow of hell cells were awakening crazily at this moment. The huge amount of golden crow source power of hell flowed throughout Xiaoping's body, turning his body into a huge furnace that emitted blazing heat. Boom! After some time, the power of creation was completely devoured by Xiaoping. He had completely taken it for himself, and the golden crow of hell cells in his body had awakened a total of 1 trillion. In other words, he had awakened a trillion. If he added the golden crow of hell cells that he had awakened previously, he had awakened a total of 2 trillion golden crow of hell cells. The concentration of the golden crow of hell bloodline in his body had doubled. So strong. Xiaoping felt that the power in his body was simply insanely strong. The golden crow of hell bloodline in his body had become even stronger. Many of the bloodline magics that he had awakened previously had also been strengthened. He found that the blood and bones in his body had all undergone a transformation. Chapter 2636. Just as Xiaoping was cultivating in seclusion, the changes to the Hell of the Green Lotus had attracted the attention of countless demons outside the void. They had initially thought that the Hell of the Green Lotus was done for and had decided to pack up and run without looking back. But after a few days, some of the demons that were still in the vicinity realized that something was wrong. Because not only did the Hell of the Green Lotus not seem to have been devoured by the void monsters, it seemed to be getting stronger and giving off an unfathomable aura. They felt that something unbelievable had happened to the Hell of the Green Lotus. What's going on? Didn't they say that the Hell of the Green Lotus was invaded by billions of void monsters? More than half of the high-level demons died in battle while many of the weaker demons died and the Hell of the Green Lotus fell? Why is the Hell of the Green Lotus showing no signs of being destroyed? Instead, it seems to be getting stronger and more mysterious? Some demons looked into the distance. They could sense that the Hell of the Green Lotus seemed to be getting stronger. The source energy that was being emitted was as hot as the sun. The source energy of the Hell of the Green Lotus was already strong enough in the past. But now it was even more sick. It was at least 10,000 times stronger. Not only did it show no signs of weakening, but it had even gotten stronger. Indeed, this is really strange. Without the high-level demons defending, the Hell of the Green Lotus should have been devoured cleanly by the void monsters. Why is this happening? Many demons were extremely confused. In reality, even though it was rare for a high-level hell to be destroyed, it had happened from time to time after countless eras. It wasn't that rare. But what was rare was that even though the Hell of the Green Lotus had fallen, there were no signs of it being destroyed. To be honest, they had already planned to run away. But now they had stopped. They wanted to know what was happening to the Hell of the Green Lotus. That's right. There's something else that's even stranger. It has been so many days but not a single void monster has come out from the Hell of the Green Lotus. Not a single one. Could they have fallen asleep? Sleep my ass. I've never seen a void monster sleep. They are monsters born for destruction. Compared to them, we demons are like little brothers. We can't even compare. That's where the problem lies. Such a terrifying void monster has already taken over the Hell of the Blue Lotus, but it still hasn't left the Hell of the Blue Lotus. It's like nothing has happened. Although the chances of that happening are very slim, could it be that those void monsters are dead? Is that why none of them have left the Hell of the Green Lotus? Impossible. That's tens of billions of void monsters. Tens of billions of them. Such a military force is enough to destroy the Hell of Green Lotus dozens of times over. Who could possibly exterminate all of them? Indeed. If the Hell of the Blue Lotus was really that powerful, how could they have been beaten so badly that they had to flee in such a sorry state? No matter how I look at it, it doesn't seem possible. The demons were discussing what had happened in the Green Lotus Hell. All of them were extremely curious and confused. No. It's not impossible that all of these void monsters are dead. At this time, an ancient fiend narrowed his eyes and gave his own explanation. How so? Many devils looked at the immemorial fiend. I don't know if you've heard of the demon god's ruins in the Hell of the Green Lotus. That place is a place that even invincible devils don't dare to casually enter. It's said that the terrifying power of the demon god is left behind in that place. If those void monsters foolishly enter the demon god's ruins and activate the restrictive array formation, they might be annihilated just like that. The ancient fiend said in a deep voice. That's impossible. I've heard of this before. It seems that countless eras ago, many void monsters had slaughtered their way into the demon god's ruins. In the end, they were completely annihilated. That incident had completely frightened those void monsters. That place has already been listed as a forbidden area by them. They can't enter without permission. Do you think they would foolishly enter and throw their lives away? Some devils retorted. They felt that those void monsters wouldn't be so stupid. No. Speaking of this, I feel that the possibility is getting higher and higher. The ancient fiend said, although those void monsters suffered a great loss in the demon god's ruins countless eras ago and suffered disastrous losses, teaching them an extremely painful lesson, they didn't have many troops at that time. But at that time, their military strength wasn't much, and they were far from the momentum of the tens of billions of void monsters joining forces today. Perhaps they felt that their tens of billions of void monsters were already invincible enough to sweep through the world, and they didn't even place the demon god's ruins in their eyes. They wanted to enter and take revenge. Even the demon god's ruins have treasures that those void monsters yearn for. That's why those void monsters would enter regardless of everything. Indeed, what you said isn't without reason. Many devils couldn't help but nod, expressing their admiration. In reality, that was indeed the case. Even if the void monsters had suffered a painful lesson, they wouldn't remember it for too long. As time passed, they would forget the dangers inside. At the same time, the treasures left behind in the demon god's ruins were too precious. Even devils who had reached the invincible realm would drool over the treasures inside. Even if they had suffered countless painful lessons and many of them had died inside, they still enjoyed it. However, they still enjoyed it and continued to explore. Even the invincible devils were like that. They didn't believe that those void monsters would be willing to give up on the demon god's ruins. Those void monsters might be unwilling and try to explore the demon god's ruins again. That wasn't impossible. No matter what, it's just a guess. If we want to know whether those void monsters are dead or not, we need to go back to the Green Lotus Hell and explore. Only then will we know the truth. The ancient fiend narrowed his eyes. Go back to the Green Lotus Hell? Hearing that, the devils looked troubled. They looked at each other. To be honest, it hadn't been easy for them to escape from the Green Lotus Hell. Now, they were actually asking them to go back. Wasn't that courting death? If those void monsters were really dead, then perhaps there wouldn't be any danger. The problem was, if those void monsters weren't dead and only stayed in the Green Lotus Hell to rest, then the devil who went back to the Green Lotus Hell would probably be dead. Even an invincible devil would die after entering the void monster's lair. It could be said that this was a risk of death. As selfish devils, how would they be willing to risk their lives? Wasn't that a joke? For a moment, the atmosphere was silent. No one spoke. Third sect leader. Chapter 2637. Another few days passed, but there was still no movement from the Green Lotus Hell. It wasn't destroyed and no void monsters came out of the Green Lotus Hell. Everything was calm and peaceful as if nothing had happened. Some demons couldn't sit still when they saw this. They felt that the void monsters must have met with a huge accident and all died. Otherwise, the Green Lotus Hell wouldn't have remained unscathed until now. I'm going back to take a look. One of the primordial demons said. Its eyes flickered with uncertainty. To be honest, although the chances of survival for this mission were slim, the benefits would be immense if they were successful. The entire Green Lotus Hell was empty, and there were still a lot of treasures left inside. Those were the treasures that the high-level demons didn't have time to take away in order to escape. If it returned to the Green Lotus Hell now and all the void monsters died, wouldn't those ownerless treasures fall into its hands? What other fortuitous encounter could there be in this world? Of course, it wasn't as if it didn't have the confidence to escape. It was proficient in escape techniques. If it really encountered any danger, it could instantly break through the void and escape from the Green Lotus Hell. No matter what, this mission was worth taking a risk. In fact, this primordial demon wasn't the only one with such thoughts. There were many other demons who shared the same thoughts. After all, no one in this world was an idiot. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Almost at the same time, the abyss devils set off from where they were and entered the hell of the Green Lotus without making a sound, cautiously, and at top speed. They thought they would encounter some unfathomable danger in the Green Lotus Hell. They might even encounter the nests of void monsters, so they were all on tenterhooks. But after entering the Green Lotus Hell, they were completely dumbfounded. Huge, it's too huge. How did the Green Lotus Hell become so huge? What happened? One of the demons was dumbfounded. It used its divine sense to sense its surroundings, but it realized that the Green Lotus Hell was unfamiliar like never before. To be honest, it had stayed in the Green Lotus Hell for billions of years. It thought it was very familiar with the Green Lotus Hell. It knew every blade of grass, every tree and even every corner. But now that it had entered the hell of the Green Lotus, it was completely stupefied. It felt as though it had entered a foreign high-level hellish plane. If it wasn't for him repeatedly confirming that this place was the space within the Green Lotus Hell, he would have thought that he'd been teleported to another place. It was truly inconceivable. It's not just huge. Can you sense the essence energy of hell? It's so dense. It's thousands of times denser than it was before. One of the primordial fiends felt its entire body tremble. It felt as if every time it breathed in the energy of the Green Lotus Hell, its combat prowess would improve. If he could stay in the Green Lotus Hell for a little longer, he might even have a chance to be promoted to the Invincible Realm Demon. This was the reason why countless demons wanted to enter the greater hellish plane. Even if they had the same level of aptitude, they would be able to improve at least 10 times or even 100 times faster, if not faster. This was the influence of the environment on demons. If an analogy had to be made, it would be like studying in a poor country like Africa or studying in a developed country like Europe or America. Even if they had the same level of intelligence, there was no doubt that studying in a developed country would have a higher chance of success. Oh my God, it really is like that. When did the essence of the Green Lotus Hell become so strong? What happened in the Green Lotus Hell during this period of time? Many demons were dumbfounded. They were extremely sensitive to changes in the cultivation environment. Wait, look. There seems to be something in the sky. Fuck. It's the sun. It's the sun of hell. One of the primordial fiends suddenly felt that something was wrong. It felt as though the Green Lotus Hell had become much brighter. It was so dazzling that it couldn't accept it. It looked up and its eyes were filled with shock. It was so shocked that it couldn't help but scream. It was because a dark golden sun hung high in the sky, emitting boundless heat. Countless rays of sunlight fell on the ground, as though piercing through the thick darkness. Wherever the sun shone, there was light. The demonic energy of hell seemed as though it would be reduced to ashes under the sunlight. These demons had never seen or heard of such a scene. Even the demons that had lived for tens of billions of years had never seen something like this. Are you kidding me? Since when did a sun appear in the Green Lotus Hell? Didn't they say that the sun went extinct in the demonic god era? Many demons were dumbfounded. Their hearts were in turmoil and no words could describe the shock they felt. The sun hanging high in the sky was burning everything. They felt as though they would be burned to ashes if they got close. In truth, the dark golden sun wasn't as simple as the one Xiaoping had created. It had fused with the essence of the Green Lotus Hell. It could be said that it was the incarnation of the Green Lotus Hell's essence. Forget the primordial fiends, even invincible demons would be burned to ashes by the flames of the golden crow of hell if they tried to get close. The sacred, ancient, and boundless power made all the demons revere it like a god. I've heard that the reason high-level hells can't be promoted to demonic god plane is because they lack the existence of a sun. If a sun appears, it means that they have a chance to be promoted to demonic god plane, and a new demonic god plane will be born. One of the primordial fiends couldn't help but clench his fists. A new demonic god. Are you kidding me? Does the Green Lotus Hell have a chance to be promoted to a new demonic god plane? Although it sounds ridiculous, the current Green Lotus Hell is unimaginably strong. I've never heard of any high-level hells being this strong. Indeed. If it's true, then we might have a chance to become demonic gods if we stay in the Green Lotus Hell. The eyes of the demons lit up. No one was more excited than them. Demonic gods were the supreme existences in hell. They were the true rulers that controlled all living beings in the world. The so-called invincible demons were just ants in front of demonic gods. They weren't even worth mentioning. If one of them could become the first demonic god of hell, then the entire hell would be unified by that demonic god. That demonic god would become the true lord of hell, the one and only supreme ruler. Chapter 2638. But what about the void monsters? Where did they go? Why can't I see any traces of them anywhere? At this moment, some of the demons calmed their excitement and began to think about their greatest enemy, the void monsters. If the void monsters were still alive, it would be impossible for them to survive in the Green Lotus Hell. That's right. In that case, it seems like we can't find any traces of the void monsters anywhere. It's as if they disappeared into thin air. Not only have the void monsters disappeared, but even the damage they caused in the Green Lotus Hell seems to have disappeared completely. I remember that the entire Green Lotus Hell was about to collapse when I was escaping. Now that I look at it, there are no signs of collapse at all. It's as if the Green Lotus Hell was never attacked by the void monsters. It's really strange. What happened in the Green Lotus Hell? Why would there be such a huge change in the Green Lotus Hell? Where did the void monsters go? After the demons calmed down from their excitement, they were also filled with endless doubts. They were all curious about where the void monsters had gone. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In an instant, the demons scattered in all directions, trying to find traces of the void monsters. However, after searching for 3 days and 3 nights, they had searched hundreds of thousands of light years. Yet they still couldn't find any traces of the void monsters. What the hell? We really can't find a single void monster. Where did they go? And I didn't see them leave the Green Lotus Hell either. Some demons were dumbfounded. In fact, they had been paying attention to the situation in the Green Lotus Hell while they were escaping. They wanted to know when the void monsters would come out of the Green Lotus Hell. The problem was that they hadn't seen a single void monster come out of the Green Lotus Hell even after paying attention for a long time. Yet, the void monsters didn't leave the Green Lotus Hell. Instead, they disappeared from the Green Lotus Hell itself. In that case, where did the void monsters go? How could they just disappear into thin air? The demonic god's ruins. Those void monsters must have gone to the demonic god's ruins. A primordial demon suddenly shouted, his eyes shining. If all possibilities were eliminated, then there was only one possibility left, and that was that these void monsters had entered the ruins of the demon god. That was why they had disappeared so thoroughly and without a trace. It seems like our previous guess was correct. Those void monsters loved to court death. They ran into the demon god's ruins and triggered the demon god's power within the demon god's ruins. As a result, those void monsters were completely annihilated. Even the Green Lotus Hell benefited greatly from it, resulting in such an evolution. A devil voiced out his own speculation. That's right, it must be so. Apart from this possibility, there is no other possibility. Many demons nodded, agreeing with this conjecture. Haha, what a foolish void monster. Originally, they had the chance to take over the entire Blue Lotus Hell. Yet, they just had to foolishly go to the demon god's ruins to court death. If they don't die, who will? An ancient era's demon laughed out loud in excitement. This is simply the will of the heavens. These void monsters have committed so many evils that even the heavens want to deal with them. But aren't these void monsters a little too foolish? They clearly suffered a great loss in the demon god's ruins, yet they still wanted to court death and went in. They even got themselves killed. It's normal to be foolish. These void monsters are all brainless. They don't know the logic of, you grow wiser after being stung. They simply won't shed tears until they see the coffin, and won't give up until they reach the Yellow River. This is the heavens helping us. Otherwise, I'm afraid we would have to leave our homes and leave the Green Lotus Hell. Many evil demons were excited, feeling that they had struck the jackpot. As for those void monsters, they were cursed by the heavens. They actually entered the demon god's ruins to court death and self-destruction. To think that there was such a good thing in the world. But isn't this demon god's ruin a little too terrifying? There are tens of billions of void monsters there. Back then, all the demons in the Hell of Green Lotus were no match for these void monsters even if we gathered them together. And yet, they were all buried just like that. Not to mention they did it so silently. A primordial evil demon sighed. He deeply felt the horror of the demon god's ruins. It was simply beyond imagination. Faced with billions of void monsters, they were completely in despair. They were no match for them at all. However, such a terrifying void monster had disappeared without a trace after entering the fiend god ruins, as if it had been swallowed by a terrifying behemoth. This made the mysteriousness and danger of the demon god's ruins to the extreme. The demon god's ruins are indeed terrifying. It can be said to be an unsolvable place. But as long as we don't court death and enter the demon god's ruins stupidly, we will be fine. A evil demon said in a deep voice. The other evil demons could not help but nod, acknowledging this point. Although the demon god's ruins were very dangerous, as long as they did not court death and enter the ruins to provoke them, there would not be any big problems. The demon god's ruins were not like those void monsters. They wanted to kill them all. It was like a dangerous mystic realm. As long as they did not enter, they would coexist harmoniously. There was no better neighbor than this. This time, it was also thanks to the demon god's ruins that they could easily bury billions of void monsters. Otherwise, how could they have the chance to return to the Green Lotus Hell? They would have long left their homes and gone to other hellish planes to avoid disaster. But now that the void monsters are dead, the entire Green Lotus Hell is empty. Then doesn't that mean that the treasures in the Green Lotus Hell are all ownerless? A evil demon's eyes revealed a hint of greed. It suddenly recalled that in order to avoid being hunted down by the void monsters, many evil demons did not have time to take away their lifetime treasures. Especially those treasures hidden in the treasury. The void monsters had killed them too quickly, so they did not have a chance to take them away. In the end, too many of them were left behind. But now it was different. Those hell treasures were still there, and the void monsters were suspected to have all fallen in the demon god's ruins. Most importantly, those invincible evil demons had disappeared without a trace. As the saying went, when the tiger was absent, the monkey reigned supreme. Evil demons who dared to take the first bite of the crab, did that not mean that they had welcomed a great opportunity to strike it rich? At this moment, the Green Lotus Hell was simply filled with treasures. Casually plundering a few of them would make them rich overnight. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In an instant, these evil demons looked at each other. Without any nonsense, they flew in all directions, searching for the treasures left behind by the high-level evil demons. Chapter 2639. However, these demons discovered that the Green Lotus Hell was simply too vast. It was more than 10,000 times larger than before. It was as if the sea had transformed into mulberry fields. The famous capitals of the previous demon kingdoms were no longer in their memories. Hence, it became increasingly difficult to find these places with hidden treasures. Even so, this did not extinguish the excitement of these demons. They dug 3 feet into the ground in a frenzy to search for the treasures hidden in the capitals of the various demon kingdoms. This search took 7 days and 7 nights. Some of the demons were extremely excited. They had finally found the capital of one of the famous demon kingdoms. They had found the location of the treasury in the depths of the royal palace. After going through so much trouble, they finally opened the restrictions of the treasury. They wanted to go in and plunder without restraint. However, when these demons entered the treasury, they were all dumbfounded. All of them started cursing. Fuck. Fuck your grandpa. What the hell is going on? Didn't they say that the high-level demons didn't have time to take the treasury with them when they fled? Now there's not even a hair left in this treasury. It's even cleaner than your face. Are you kidding me? Who's here to clean up? A primordial demon cursed. It was so angry that it wanted to vomit blood. It was extremely depressed. It couldn't believe its eyes. It had never seen a treasury so thoroughly ransacked in its life. Spotless wasn't enough to describe the tidiness of this treasury. It was like looking in a mirror. They had said that they could take advantage of this opportunity to make a fortune. Now what the fuck were they going to make? All the treasures here had already been plundered by some bastard. Not even a hair was left. Haha, it's just an accident. If there are no treasures in this kingdom's royal palace, do you think there won't be treasures in the next kingdom's treasury? I don't believe that the high-level demons could really take all the treasures with them when they fled. No matter how cruel they were, they should have left some treasures behind. It's impossible for them to have been plundered so cleanly. One of the demons gritted its teeth. It was very unconvinced. Hence, this group of demons continued to search for the famous treasures of the demon kingdoms. However, the second, third, fourth, and fifth treasures were the same. Nothing was left. They couldn't even find a hell origin stone, let alone a precious hell magic treasure. The craziest thing was that even the door to the treasury and the walls made of precious materials from hell had been torn down by the high-level demons. They didn't even leave a single valuable stone behind. Fuck, just how long have those higher demons been planning to run away? This is too much. They've taken away the entire treasury, not even leaving us a single stone. Demons are greedy to this extent, too despicable and shameless. Those high-level demons must have wanted to escape long ago. They knew that the void monsters would attack, so they dismantled the treasures in the vault in advance so that they could leave the hell of the Green Lotus at any time. No wonder the Blue Lotus Hell's fiend army was defeated so quickly. With these cowards, traitors, and high-level fiend devils ready to pack up and run at any moment, there's no way we won't be defeated. What a disgrace. These high-level fiend devils are a disgrace to the hell of the Green Lotus. They're already planning to run away when the war has just started. Serves them right to be killed by the void monsters. I curse them to never get rich in this life, and to have bad luck after bad luck. Those fucking high-level demons will get their retribution sooner or later. They've enjoyed the best wealth and the most resources, but when danger comes they're the first to run. Don't let me see those high-level demons again. Otherwise I'll beat them up every time I see them. I won't rest until they're dead. Many of the fiend devils were infuriated as they gritted their teeth. They thought that they could make a fortune, but who would have thought that they couldn't even get a single hellsource stone? How could they make a fortune? They instantly hated those fiend devils who ran away in advance and even took away all the treasures along the way. They really wanted to tear those high-level demons into pieces. They had clearly run away and couldn't even bear to leave behind some of the precious treasures. Yet they took everything away. They clearly didn't want any benefits to go to them. They were even more stingy than Grandet and loved money as much as their lives. If those high-level demons appeared again they would definitely fight them to the death. However, that wasn't the case. That was because the void monsters had attacked the hell of the Green Lotus too suddenly, and their speed was too fast. None of the high-level demons could react in time, and they didn't have the chance to prepare in advance. Therefore, when they ran away that day, there were many treasures left in every palace's treasury. However, these treasures were all taken away by Xia Ping using the power of the origin will of hell without alerting any of the restrictive formations. One could imagine that with the help of the origin will of the Green Lotus hell, Xia Ping was simply an omnipotent god. He could sense every corner of the hell of the Green Lotus hell, and he could see where the treasures were hidden and where the treasury was. Therefore, it was relatively easy for him to plunder. It was also because of this that when these fiend devils wanted to enter the treasury to look for treasures, they were stunned on the spot. Because there were no treasures left in the treasury, they were all taken away by Xia Ping. These fiend devils couldn't possibly know of Xia Ping's existence, so they could only blame it on those high-level demons who ran away. Of course, no matter how strong Xia Ping was, he couldn't possibly plunder every corner of the hell of the Green Lotus hell. After all, it would take a lot of time and effort and he didn't have that much time. But most importantly, after obtaining so many treasures, he didn't care about those small treasury anymore. It was like a billionaire looking down on a few cents on the ground. Therefore, these fiend devils were a little relieved. Although they couldn't eat the meat of Big Head, at least they could drink some soup. All of the fiend devils were very bitter. They gave up on those large treasury and turned to plunder those cities, and other weaker fiend devils didn't have the time to take away the valuables. Although these treasures were a little small, it wasn't like there was nothing. It was like how no matter how small a mosquito was, it still had some meat. However, at this moment at the end of the hell in an unknown space, there was a huge, dark, ancient lair that seemed to be the lair of countless void monsters. At the end of this lair there was an ancient temple. And in the temple there were huge, noble and ancient dark thrones, carved with dense nomological patterns. They seemed to emit an unfathomable aura, like a dark vortex. Boom! In an instant the dark thrones lit up, and huge balls of light appeared. These balls of light seemed to contain a great will. Third sect leader. Chapter 2640. Why did you wake us up? Don't you know that we're sleeping and recuperating? At this moment, an ancient voice rang out from the palace, constantly vibrating. It seemed to contain a strange power that distorted the void. Apologies, this is a last resort. The situation is urgent, so I had no choice but to wake you up. A voice spoke. Just what happened that requires us to be woken up? Could it be that something has happened in hell? Remember, if it's nothing major, don't blame us for being heartless. Speak, just what happened that made you pay such a huge price to wake us up? Many voices rang out one after another, buzzing and buzzing. The inheritor of the true demon god has appeared. The voice spoke in a low voice. What did you say? It was just a simple sentence, but it shocked all the unknown existences on the scene. It was as if a storm had engulfed every one of them, and they were all extremely shocked. Impossible. Ever since the true demon god died, no second demon has been able to inherit his power. It's been countless years, and there's still no way for a second true demon god to be born. That's right. The conditions to inherit the true demon god's power are extremely harsh. Since ancient times, through countless eras, who knows how many demons have coveted the true demon god's power. They have tried to find the true demon god's inheritance shrine and obtain the inheritance, but they have all failed. Even we painstakingly worked hard, but to no avail. Where did you learn about this? Is it true or false? This matter is of great importance. You can't talk nonsense here, Yizichin said coldly. The voices of these existences were extremely solemn and murderous. Clearly this news had shaken them. If it was true, then it was indeed worth paying a huge price to wake them up. It's true. Previously, I sent tens of billions of void monsters to destroy one of the higher planes of hell. The existence spoke in a low voice. At first, I thought it was just a simple battle. After countless years of planning, I already had a clear understanding of the defenses of the higher planes of hell, and even succeeded in conquering them. I even killed most of the demons there. I was about to destroy the higher planes of hell. However, who would have thought that the inheritor of the true demon god would appear and use the power of the true demon god to kill billions of my void monsters, causing the plan to fail on the verge of success. I even tried to launch a long-distance attack and use the power of the curse to curse the inheritor of the true demon god. However, I don't know what method he used, but my attack was easily nullified. It told him everything it knew, no matter how big or small. Hearing those words, many existences fell silent. All of them possessed special powers, so they could naturally determine if the other party was lying or not, and they could determine if it was true or false. But there was no doubt that this matter was true, and there was no falsification. Not bad, you've done well. The successor of the true demon god has actually appeared once again. This is indeed an extremely important matter. It's worth it to wake us up. A deep voice sounded. Never would I have thought that after millions and millions of epochs have passed, there would actually still be life forms capable of inheriting the power of the true demonic god. This is truly unimaginable. Truly unbelievable. It's not strange. There are countless life forms in this world. Occasionally, one would appear and fulfill the requirements of a miracle. Then it would be born. I've long since expected this. Indeed, I did not think that the timing would be so bad. Of all times, it would appear when we're in slumber. If it wasn't for the laws of hell obstructing us, we could have personally taken action and killed this damned inheritor of the true demon god, eliminating any future troubles. Is this fate? Right now, fate is in the hands of the true demon god, not in our hands. No, so what if it's fate? Fate cannot stop our will. If we want someone dead, that person will not be able to continue living, even if they hide in the depths of hell. Many unknown existences discussed among themselves. Killing intent surged, and terrifying killing intent filled the depths of the void. They were extremely wary of the newly born inheritor of the true demon god and wanted to kill him as soon as possible. Why are you so wary of the inheritor of the true demon god? At this moment, the voice asked. In truth, this is not the first time that the inheritor of the true demon god has appeared. There are also some inheritors of powerful demon gods among them, but I didn't know that you were so wary. Is there a need to raise your guard to such an extent? I was very confused. No. You are still young. You don't know how terrifying the true demon god is. Although it is a demon god, it is also the most unique one among all the demon gods. That's right. It died too early and for too long, so long that even the demon gods have forgotten how terrifying the true demon god is. These existences lamented. I admit that the true demon god is indeed powerful, but its divine power is only in the area of keeping promises. As the god of contracts and justice, this kind of power doesn't seem to have much combat power. The voice said doubtfully. Contracts and justice? Hearing this, one of the existences immediately laughed loudly. Wrong, you're wrong. That guy is not some demon god of contracts and justice. It is a demon god that hates contracts and justice the most. It will abide by any contract that is beneficial to it and destroy any contract that is detrimental to it. All the contracts signed are for its benefit. That's right. Don't think that just because it is called the true demon god, it is a god of promises and justice. In fact, in the eyes of the gods, that guy is a god of deceit, the greatest and strongest god of hell. Another existence sneered. How is that possible? Could it possibly go against its own authority? The voice was shocked. No, justice, contracts and promises are not its power. The true power of the true demon god is to deceive. One of the existences spoke. When the power of truth reaches its peak, it becomes falsehood. When the power of falsehood reaches its peak, it becomes the truth. Falsehood and falsehood change freely, turning falsehood into truth, turning truth into falsehood, reversing yin and yang, reversing black and white. That is the most powerful and terrifying power of the true demon god. What it says is the truth. Even if it was originally false, it must still be true. What it says is the law, like the words of gold and jade, it cannot be disobeyed. The kingdom it exists in is a false kingdom, a fairy tale kingdom, a mythical kingdom. Wherever it goes, all living beings are not allowed to lie, not allowed to go against their promises, only it can. The power of the Lord can exempt everything. Voice after voice resounded, seemingly resonating with the law, as if countless believers were chanting, containing the unimaginable power of law. That you're tuning in to the Han Lee's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.